What's up, y'all? How y'all doing tonight, man? Good to see you guys. I know it's Friday night, and I know it's late. I don't care. I want to sit down and talk with you guys and do this live stream. Shout out to everybody watching this. If you're watching this after hours and you're watching this after we go live, no shade, no problem. Thank you for watching. Thank you guys for learning. Visually, not going to be all that great. It's going to be this chart and me. And I want to quote a hater. I once had a guy on a podcast out there. He said, hey, that guy RicoKnows, he's just a fan with a spreadsheet. That's what he said. He's just a fan with a spreadsheet. Well, you're just a hater with a mic, bro, because this spreadsheet is out here stacking dollars. If you guys don't know, we got MVPs on Patreon and YouTube. Shout out to them. My guy, Buzzo Rico. Shout out to you, Rose Cransbury. I appreciate you showing up in the chat. I just saw him right now. I'll get to the rest of you guys on TikTok here in a second. But if you didn't know, it's almost football season. We got MVPs all over Patreon, all over YouTube. MVPs is word for my VIPs. It's word for people who rock with me and get down with me. Shout out to all the MVPs that make my life possible. If you want to get the picks, get the parlays, get the props, get the breakdowns, get your advantage, come see me. Get to Patreon, search RicoKnows, get to YouTube, hit the join button, become an MVP. It's that simple. You won't regret it. You make all your money back in the first bet you ever make. All the futures bets are posted for all the Power 5 teams out there in America, and we're hitting the group of 5 starting. I got like 40 days until the season starts, maybe 38 to be exact. And that means I got 30 days to break down teams. I'm ready. So with that being said, what I do in preparation is I sit down and I do a film study on every single position group on every single team in America, 134 teams. I grind through them. This is not a magic trick. I'm not faking it. You can watch me on TikTok live and see me do this every single day. 12 to 20 hours a day, I am on live grinding through film, evaluating players. Every now and then I'll stop, I'll push away, and I'll say I got to make a video and talk about something I just saw on tape. Every now and then a position group warrants it. So I have already completed all the offensive position groups, all the offensive teams out there. I have evaluated all of them, and I ranked them, and I sorted them by their total. And I'm going to talk to you guys about these columns, and then we'll go from there. If you're watching this video and you don't want to watch the whole thing, and you don't want to learn about every team in America, you just want to know about your favorite team, well, you can wait till they show up, or you can fast forward it a little bit, because I talk about all the top teams at the end. But right now, we're going to talk about these bottom teams. I will not go all that much in depth on every single team, because that kind of information is what I give to the MVPs. That kind of information I'll go over throughout the season. I just don't want to do it. Now, can I talk about 134 teams in depth? You better ask your mom, bro. I do this every day. It's stupid. I go dumb. And people know this. Bar for bar, there's nothing to it. By the way, if you see the teams on the right over here, different colors, different order, they're in alphabetical order, and that's because I'm currently working on the defense. It's actually on this tab here, and it's all these numbers to the far right that I'm working on. I've already filled in a few, and then I go back to the top and go over it again. I scrub it. It's a military term. I just go back and check it again, redo everything, and I make sure I'm doing it right. But offense is already done. Already sorted, done, and ready to go. The only thing that can change this for the most part is some of the fall battles, position battles. If they change, they'll change the depth chart, and injuries. Obviously injuries. And then as the season goes, I will adjust teams, adjust scores for certain position groups based upon results. One thing that isn't taken into account when I do this is the coaching scheme or the coaching staff. And I need you guys to understand that there is a huge difference when Chris Kleiman gets a 6, that's the K-State head coach, versus some guy named Sanchez at New Mexico State, right? They're not all equal. Like, not everybody's the same. Some coaches do more with less and less with more. I can give you a prime example. Jimbo Fisher might have had a 10 on the defensive line. Well, my goodness, does he suck with what he's doing, right? And that's why he no longer has a job. That's the kind of thing you have to think about, is sometimes you have to apply coaching to it. So when you see a low score, do not panic and think that means they're going to lose all the games. And this is not my way of predicting who's going to win or lose all the games. There's a little more nuance into that. I actually sit down. I don't compare this offense versus this offense. No. It's these offensive players versus these defensive players. And I really don't care how well your corners are when I'm comparing them to an offensive line, right? It doesn't really matter. So you can have an NFL corner. That doesn't make you any better than the offensive line on the other team, right? So it's position groups being compared to one another, if you will. So that being said, let's go talk about it. So we'll start at the very bottom, and I'll work my way up. Kennesaw State. I will admit I have zero tape on Kennesaw State, with the exception of some of the film I could find on YouTube. Listen, when I film these teams, all these teams, their game film, I just have a search term that I record on YouTube TV, and then ESPN Plus. I save all the games to my library during the regular season, and then I have them rated on my hard drive, and I can just go back and reference whatever I want to do. I have them sorted in folders, and it's just like, okay, if I want to see all the games for Ohio, I have them. Shout out to ESPN Plus. Shout out to YouTube TV. That's the only way I can do it. That's what I do. I don't have all 22 film. You get all 22 film for specific NFL recruits, but not teams. At least I don't get access to them, and I don't even need it. Like, I don't even fight for it, bro. I just watch the film for what it is. So Kennesaw State, hard to get tape on them. Don't see anything, but I do know a lot of Georgia high school football players. And I want to say this. You said number 2. Oh, by the way, these columns here. Number 1, quarterbacks. Okay. Number 2, the second column, running backs. Then we have wide receivers, tight ends, and offensive line. Okay, it's at the very top. Quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, and offensive line. What you need to know is each column is weighted differently. So if you put a number in here, it's not going to equal 10 in the total. No, a 10 at quarterback is worth a hell of a lot more than a 10 at tight end. Please understand that, okay? So, want to go back to Kennesaw State. Why Kennesaw State has a 2 in certain position groups, 1 at tight end and then 1 at running back. They got these brothers, man, and I'm forgetting his name right now as I sit here. I could go pull it up. I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't sit here and just make reference to somebody without saying their name. So give me a second here. It's going to take me 2 seconds. I have a whole database over here ready to go of notes. I have dude, got more charts than you guys know what to do with. I want to talk to you guys about these brothers. The Binyard brothers. It's Gabriel Binyard and what's his brother's name? Jalen. No, not Jalen. It's Gabriel and something. These Binyard brothers, where are they? Where's his other brother? Bro, these brothers, they played at Irwin County High School. They won 2 state titles. They won the state title, if I remember correctly. I think one year they beat Brooks County. They beat Omari Arnold, the backup running back at Georgia Southern right now, O.J. Arnold. But they're good players, man, and he was out all year. He's a receiver, one of the brothers. And I really like his take. Gabriel Binyard, that's who it is. Blake Bohannon and those guys are on there. But this team, I don't know much about them, so they get dead last. They will probably be adjusted as I watch them on tape. But welcome to the FBS. It's going to be an uphill battle. Hopefully they turn some heads. They do have a talent-rich area that they can recruit from, unlike a team like Kent State, right? Temple lost everybody that mattered. I still gave them a 2 in the wide receiver room. Let me think about it. Yeah, I'm not sure why. I can't think of anybody off the top of my head. And the offensive line might have 2 returning starters, and that's why they got a 2 instead of a 1. But losing, E.J. Warner, Kurt Warner's son, he just transferred to Rice. You lost all your weapons. It doesn't look good. They don't return a whole lot of production. Nobody in there really impressed me. I go back and watch as much huddle tape as I can and game film. Nobody impressed me on this entire offense. Kent State, same thing. They got this dude, the new quarterback. Shout out to them. It's a young man. It starts with a U. Give me a second here. When I watch film, he actually played last year, right? Tommy Olatowski. And I see, shout out to Lightwork. I was watching Coach Lightwork. He was playing. He's another content creator on TikTok. And he's live streaming NCAA 2025. And he's playing Kent State because that's his alma mater. That's where he played defensive line. And when he plays Kent State, that's his quarterback. Tommy Olatowski or whatever his name is. Bro is okay. It wasn't very good. Michael Alemo was worse last year. Alemo was the 4th-string Purdue transfer that transferred in and became the starter. But there's nothing that really moves me about Kent State. Gavin Garcia at running back. Like I don't like anything about the Kent State offense. Shout out to who's the head coach? The running backs coach from Minnesota. Kenny Burns. Shout out to Kenny Burns. Year number 2. Hope he does a little better. I did give them a 3 in the wide receiver room, and a lot of that has to do with McCray. McCray coming back. He was the starting wide receiver last year. McCray coming back to do his thing. Southern Miss missing everything that matters. Obviously, losing their star running back. And I don't know what they're going to do about it. They do have decent players on the team, but nothing to write home about. UMass, very underwhelming. Very underwhelming. Losing good players to Michigan State hurts, right? Lynch Adams. Just missing out on some running backs. Mike Washington was transferring out of Buffalo. I know he had interest in UMass. Jaden Nixon, another running back, had interest in UMass, ended up at Western Michigan. Just not landing on some of those leftovers from the Power Four hurts UMass. And it's a stark difference from a team like UConn. UConn knocked it out the park, and we'll talk about them later. Buffalo looks absolutely terrible. And I know some people are telling me that they're going to surprise me. They're going to have to surprise the hell out of me. Buffalo's offense looks gross. Losing Snyder at quarterback. He just transferred to a different MAC team. It's unfortunate. Ball State has a good tight end. He jumped in the portal, came back. I thought he was already going to commit to Louisville. He comes back. Ball State's not very good. Just announced they're going to start Sizemore Samiza. What's his name? The kid from Mission Viejo, the quarterback. Mikey Matthews, quarterback in high school. I made a video about him on TikTok. I shouldn't forget his name. But they just announced he's the starting quarterback. Not good. ULM got all the New Mexico transfers. Congrats. Brian Vincent just got hired there. The former New Mexico offensive coordinator, former offensive coordinator from UAB, former high school coach from Spanish Fort. They're going to have Alabama pipeline. They're going to have Southern State pipeline at ULM. They don't have anything of the sort right now. I'm not excited about it, and I believe it just doesn't look good, okay? And then New Mexico's right ahead of them, and that's totally coincidence. They're actually tied in score. And remember, I do these scores independent of knowing where they're going to sort. I don't know where they're going to sort. I do the scores individually in alphabetical order. So then when I do the custom sort, I have no clue what teams are going to be next to each other. It's pretty neat. And it just so happens New Mexico and ULM are the same. And New Mexico just gave away a bunch of players to ULM. But New Mexico's offensive line is probably the worst in America. If I could give it lower than a 1, I would. I look at it, and they built the entire line from, like, JUCO cast-offs and random FCS guys. Like, I don't know. It looks bad. If it comes together, shout out to Bronco Mendenhall. But I don't get it. Nevada actually has a decent offensive line. Nevada's got an offensive line that's going to keep them in games and have them not look terrible. I'm letting you know that now. Nevada, and they returned their starting quarterback, Brendan Lewis, former Colorado quarterback. Very terrible quarterback, but who knows, man? Nevada might win a game or two. Speaking of having nothing returning, talk about Ohio, man. Ohio, they're homegrown, and they have a great coach. So they have a chance to really do something. But as of right now, when I assess Ohio as an offense, it's bad. It's bad. Losing your starting quarterback in Rourke, he went to Indiana. Losing your backup quarterback, he went to Cal. I don't even know what that was about. And he's a terrible quarterback. We saw him play once. Rourke went down last year. They have no quarterback on that roster. They lost They lost their starting running back and the backup running back. I think O'Shawn Allison, he transferred to the FCS. They just don't have what it takes. Wiggles is gone, I believe. Lost their other wide receiver. One went to UCF, FAU. Where'd he go? He went somewhere down there into Florida. But Ohio looks bad on offense. Obviously, they're always going to have an offensive line. Navy's really hard to evaluate. Don't get mad at me, man. Navy returns no real production, and the guys that are going to be in starting positions did not ever play. And it's hard to get film on them. So I have no idea. So Navy's going to be one of those that adjusts and maybe shoots up the chart a little bit. And we know the service academies always overcome this deficit of talent. But when I look at the players they currently have listed and I go find them on tape, super underwhelming. So that's where Navy's at right here at the bottom. La Tech at 121, and rightfully so. La Tech, Sonny Cumbie needs to be fired. He does nothing. He does less with more. Every time he gets decent players, they even have Dakoldis Crawford at wide receiver, and they don't get him the ball. That's the Nebraska transfer wide receiver. They just don't do anything that impresses me. I don't like it. FIU has a good running back room. They really do. In comparison to these teams down here, they have a decent running back room and decent wide receivers. I don't like the quarterback, but he is a returning starter, so he's a 2. Keontae Jenkins, he's just not very good, but who knows, man? You beat out Grayson James, former think, Duncanville quarterback, and James just transferred up to Boston College, and he's fighting for a starting job up there, or at least he's pressuring Thomas Castellanos to complete his passes. So I don't know. It's just one of those things, right? I'm going to jump to the chat after 10 teams. I already did 10. I'll stop at 120. Oh, that's where I'm at. So let me stop at 120, jump over to the YouTube chat. If you got any questions, comments, or concerns, put it in the YouTube chat. I will get to you. If you're watching on TikTok, I don't see the chat in TikTok. Please come over to YouTube, put your question. I will talk to you. Okay? Come on, Rico, at least interact. I interact with everybody. I read all my comments on YouTube, not TikTok. I get paid over here, don't get paid here. So move over to YouTube. Thank you. Divine Obsidian says, hey, Rico, the best single season you've seen from any college football player. Oh, my goodness. So a lot of people are going to say Barry Sanders, right? Barry Sanders, 2,600 yards. But that's not the best season I've ever seen because I was 6 years old when it happened, and I don't remember it. If I'm being honest, I don't remember it. My earliest memory of college football is Troy Aikman. But I don't remember because it was UCLA and I was in Southern California, but I do not remember Barry Sanders. The next early memory I have is Ty Detmer. I remember Andre Ware, David Klingler. I remember, obviously, Gino Torretta. I remember Marshall Faulk. All that time frame right there, early 90s, what I remember. So the best season that I've ever seen, though, is like Graham Harrell and Michael Crabtree, Randy Moss's 2 seasons. Those are all very dominant seasons for me that I thought were truly incredible. The Texas Tech seasons when they beat Texas were something out of this world. I know a lot of people talk about Cam Newton, and I've done some research on this. Cam Newton is not the best season of all time. It's not even close, actually. Cam Newton's like not even in the top 5. If you were to apply fantasy points to it, the greatest season, you can go look this up, the greatest season in all of college history that I can remember is Steve McNair at Alcorn State. Steve McNair, Alcorn State, FCS, and he was third in the Heisman. He didn't even play FBS, and he was third in the Heisman. I want you to think of how utterly amazing that is. He was third in Heisman voting out of Alcorn, out of FCS. Go look up his passing yards. It's like 4,900 yards, and his rushing yards. It's out of this world. The 2 Lamar Jackson seasons are probably better statistically than what your boy Cam Newton did. So Joey Burrow's there, but it's a passing thing. Just more, I like Randy Moss a lot. When people ask me, I think of Randy Moss as the most dominant college football player I've ever seen. He scored a touchdown in every single game, I believe. And you know, you do 28 touchdowns one season, then 26 the next. I can't get over that. Like, it's just 2 seasons of domination that'll never be duplicated. So that's where I'm at on that. Do you over who you think's going to win the conference this year? Do you go over who I think's going to win the conference this year in the Patreon? Oh yeah. So D, in the Patreon, there are so many videos that I can't even tell you what I go over. Let me do this. It doesn't even matter. Like, there's a video that you probably want to know. I just got to make sure I do this view as if you're a paid member. Let me do that, and I'll drag it into the picture for you guys. So if you go to the Patreon, and you go to this collections tab right here, you will see all of the different playlists, if you will. We have UFC fights tomorrow. I've made 365 videos picking UFC fights. That's a lot of my work right there. But there's college football win totals for the 2024 season. 83 videos, college football games. So if we go to 2024 college football games and we look, these things shouldn't be in here. This one is. That's college football playoffs locks. That's a futures bet. This is accidentally clicked in here. I'll have to clean that up. But that's a futures bet, me telling you who's going to the playoffs and how to bet on it, and the parlay's a plus 1,200. I might have gave away one of these for free. Some of these videos are free. Okay? Some of them are. The rest you have to be an MVP. But look at college football playoff locks, plus 1,209. It's right there, right? But when you go and look, there's free. It says free at the beginning. Who's making the college football playoffs? Here's a breakdown of Notre Dame, but that's locked. That means you got to be an MVP. Breakdown of Utah, win totals. Are they going to win more than the numbers that are on the sports book? I let you know if that's going to happen. I break down every single team in America. But every now and then you'll see a video that talks about the Heisman, playoffs, conference championships, who's winning this conference, who's making the playoffs. You see, I redo them and update them, but you can do a search. You can pick any team in America, like a lot of people like to show up in here. You go up here and you can just type Colorado, because that's what everybody always says to me. Rico, how many games is Colorado winning? And I already have the video for Colorado. It was made back in January. Trust me, back in January. But you got to be an MVP to see these videos. Yep. You'll make all your money back, because as soon as you see my answer, you go bet on it and you'll make a ton of money. It doesn't cost you anything to be an MVP, because you're going to make a ton of money. So, yes, I do answer those questions. Is a Patreon. Is Dakotas Crawford any good? Well, he's in the starting lineup for La Tech. He's in the starting lineup for La Tech. Is he any good? When I watch the tape, he looks better than any receiver at La Tech. Now, right? Smoke Harris is gone. They lost their best wide receiver. He's the best wide receiver right now on Ole Miss, and they lost their best wide receiver from last year. So it's just one of those things where you got to be good. There's nobody else. McNair should have won. Peter Warwick was fairly dominant. Yes, he was. Peter Warwick was very dominant. Was on tap moved to here. This is a rock Harold. You were on TikTok and you moved here. Thank you so much for moving. I appreciate you for moving over, Ross. Thank you. Rico, I need an offensive lineman dog for my JUCO, Brainerd, Minnesota. Charles Thurman, I'll let you know when you get an offensive lineman dog. I'll let you know when I get one in the film reviews. Shoot me a DM. Again, I think we've talked before in the DMs on TikTok. I'm sorry, on Twitter. I'll find a kid who doesn't have an offer and who's looking for a chance, but I typically don't find those players until after January. January through April is when I find all the players. So that's my season for high school film reviews. So please be with me. Bear with me. I'll get you one or two. Dude acts like he knows everything, but didn't know anything about Kyrie Jackson's death and tried to blame him for getting killed by a random drunk driver. Guy is a clown. Should kill him. Thank you for being on the show. Thank you for being here. I don't think you watched my video. Go back and watch the original video. I very clearly said no details were out on Kyrie Jackson's death. No details were out on his death. So please, stop sending me messages and wait for more details. That's exactly what I said. Go watch the video. The rest of what you said is irrelevant. Do you think Prime would dominate the way he did in today's game? I think Prime is an exceptional player, one of the all-time great corners. I don't know which game you're referring to, the NFL or college. The answer is yes. I think he was a phenomenal player. Yes, on TikTok we talk. There you go, Charles. Thank you. Yeah, there's a lot of messages in TikTok. If you're going to come to the channel, do not come in here to troll. We don't have time for that stuff. We're out here to make money. We're out here to move and get information out to the people. If you're in here and you're talking about Kyrie Jackson, I don't think you ever defended that man once while he was alive. Congratulations, you're here to talk about him after he's died. You sound like a real friend. Let's keep going. New Mexico State is at 19. They lost everything in the transfer portal. They do have a decent running back on the team, but for the most part, they lost a large part of their offensive production. Everybody departed, went to Vandy, of all places. Some wide receivers went to other places. I'll talk about it. Eastern Michigan. Cupboard looks bare, but it's not an undoable task, and they have a good coaching staff. Marshall, worst quarterback room, full of names that you know. I'm hoping Braylon Braxton wins the quarterback battle, but there is Chad Pennington's son, Cole, there. Doesn't look good. Losing Ollie at running back isn't a good thing either, but they did get in Houston. He's a transfer from NC State. I don't feel good about the Marshall offense at all, but sometimes they surprise and they get things done. But right now, Marshall's offense looks bad. Akron looks really good, guys. I'm going to say this to you. I don't know about really good. For the MAC teams, I know Akron's been a doorstep, like a doormat, excuse me. Listen to me. Akron looks okay, bro. On tape, Akron looks good. Remember, they had over 30 transfers in the last 2 years. Their coach, Joey Moorhead, has been trying to change that roster and do the best he can. Dude, they got a transfer wide receiver from LSU. They just lost Josiah Gaithers, whatever his name is, Gaithers. That dude was I'm not going to say he's a cancer because I don't know the young man personally, but my goodness, is he a borderline character problem. And now he's at UConn. I hope he does great things over there. But I'm serious. Akron's going to surprise some people in the MAC. Trust. If I had to pick between Akron and Ohio playing tomorrow, I like Akron. And that's crazy talk. I bet Vegas does it. I bet we can win a lot of money having Akron cover the spread. ODU looks terrible again. They lost everybody of significance, and they actually lost like very good defensive players. They do have other defensive players, but the reason ODU has so many stats on defense is their offense is punting the ball all the time. Army returns their quarterback, returns some of their players. They look okay. I wouldn't be too excited. UTEP. Come on, UTEP. I'm a big fan of UTEP. I love what they're doing in the transfer portal. They brought in a ton of players from Austin Peay, got a new head coach. I love their running back. But they still have this kid Gavin at quarterback who we bet against 100 times over. Don't believe his stats. His stats were done on 2 large plays that nobody ever knew about. It is not good. It is not good. It is not good. I love the UTEP wide receiver room, by the way. Very good players. Like literally 3-4 wide receivers that look like some of the best in Conference USA. I like that. Tulsa, speaking of wide receiver room, got raided. They lost some of their wide receivers to Houston. They do have a decent quarterback in Kirk Francis, and they got a transfer from Utah State. They have players, man. Tulsa's not terrible, but they ain't good enough to win a whole lot. They're not. And then there's UConn. UConn improved immensely from the transfer portal, but when you sit down and you really look at it, there's still not enough there to get excited about. There just isn't. There's not enough there to start writing home and saying UConn's going to win stuff. They have Nick Evers at quarterback. Got it. They have a good running back room. And I know you guys see the 4 and you go, Rico, it's a 4 out of 10. Yeah, the 10s are NFL draft picks. The 10s are 1,000-yard rushers. The 9s and the 8s are all conference first team guys. The 7s are second team. 6s are honorable mentions. 5s, like that 5 at UTEP is a 1,200-yard rusher in the FCS. So please understand the scale. It's compared to all the teams in America. So a 4 is actually not terrible. It's their highest, it's their best position group, running back. They're loaded at running back. UConn is. They got 3 good ones. Cool. It's not going to move it. Sam Houston. I like Sam Houston, man. Their offense was bad last year. I hope they figure it out. Let me tell you guys something. They got this quarterback. He just transferred in from Central Michigan. No. Central Michigan. Yeah, Bauer. Little dude. I like him. I like him. He's cool to watch, man. He's cool to cheer for. I hope Sam Houston moves the chain. Jace Bauer. I hope he plays all right. Central Michigan. Blah. I don't know, man. They really, really disappoint me. Louisiana, we're getting a little better. Oregon State. That's not a typo. I believe Oregon State's one of the worst teams on offense next year. I do. I think Oregon State looks bad. I was not impressed with Oregon State when I went and looked them over. Their wide receiver room looks anemic. They lost so many good players to Michigan State, so many good players to graduation. I think they're falling apart. Could I be wrong? I could be, but I usually am not. I think Oregon State looks bad. Middle Tennessee, I like Middle Tennessee's tight end, obviously, but the rest of the team is like, I think their leading receiver moved to tight end. Is why I have it like this. The rest of the team is okay. I know they have Nick V at quarterback. He's a senior quarterback, been around for a long time. I've never been impressed with him, just so you know. Charlotte, man. Charlotte's got some pieces here and there. They got Max Brown at quarterback, transferred in from Florida. They got good running backs. Good running backs. I like some of them. Hassan's out there, the kid from South Carolina. I like him a lot. They got others. Good team. Charlotte's not bad. Wyoming, they're not good at home, or I'm sorry, they're great at home and not good on the road. They're great at home and not good on the road. They have a good running back. I know it doesn't look like I think he is. He's good, but I know it. It's like Harrison Whaley is good. He's a former leading rusher from NIU, transferred in. He's a good player. Georgia State, love what they're doing. Keep building. On their way up. San Diego State, I still don't believe in their quarterback, but they do have other players. I love their running back room. Troy, I think it's going to be a down year for Troy. I have them at 101, right behind Northwestern. I know Evan Kramer's probably watching this right now going, yo, Rico, this can't be good. But it is. Troy's just got to bounce back. Troy just lost Chris Lewis, their wide receiver, their star wide receiver, the transfer from Kentucky. They lost him for the season due to cancer. Troy still has a decent offensive line, but they got raided, right? They lost their coach, John Summerall. He got hired over at Tulane, so he's moving over. He took some players with him. Graduation, obviously, Kamani Vidal's gone. Gunnar Watson's gone. Like, they lost some players, but we'll see what happens. I'm hearing good things about them offline. I'm hearing good things in my DMs, but I can't. You could tell me all day that your team's going to be good. When I watch the film, this is where Troy is right now. Northwestern, I believe they regressed this year. They won 8 games last year. I don't think they get back there. Losing their quarterbacks, they're going to start Mike Wright at quarterback. I don't like it. Losing one running back, I believe. Where'd he go? Where'd he go? He went somewhere. Did he go to Ohio? Oh, he went to Ohio. He's okay. Northwestern, though. Yeah, I'm not impressed with Northwestern for the most part. Then we got Air Force. Air Force looks pretty decent at quarterback and fullback. Quarterback, fullback, they returned their running quarterback, the guy who was injured for part of the year when they were losing games. It's because he wasn't playing, and now he's back. They got a decent team. I like it. FAU. We got to believe that Herman's building something down there, and they're getting better. Western Michigan, they actually got a decent running back added to the room, and they already have a good running back room. Western Michigan's looking like they're getting there. They're going like this. The only team I'm more excited about in the MAC is Bowling Green. Bowling Green, to me, looks like a sneaky good team. Second or third best team in the MAC. Second or third. Bowling Green looks like they're ramping up for something great. I'm telling you. Especially what I saw on tape. Washington State, love their two quarterbacks battling it out for the starting job. The rest of the team leaves a lot to be desired. They do have a wide receiver room. That's pretty decent. Georgia Southern, what an offensive line. Georgia Southern returns like 4 starters on the offensive line. They look really good on the offensive line. Georgia Southern is the first team that I looked at, and I went, whoa. I did not expect that from them. I can remember, because remember, I was going to alphabetical order, so I was starting at the A's. And everything I saw, I anticipated, expected it, the whole thing. Then I got to Georgia Southern, and I'm watching the tape, and I go, hey, hold up. This is a much better offensive line than anticipated. This is a very good team up front. So that's pretty cool. Now, what they're going to do at quarterback, I have no idea. They tell me J.C. French is fighting for the job with the kid, the transfer from Indiana, Williams. I just don't believe in a lot of things they're doing. They got 2 good running backs, no wide receivers. Georgia Southern, offensive line for days. Utah State, they're in shambles. They just lost their head coach. They're down here at 94. I still think Utah State has a good running back room. I still think they had good quarterback play last year. Then they got the transfer from Iowa, which is terrible. They shouldn't have gave Petrus a job. They should have saved that scholarship for somebody from Utah Tech or something. I wouldn't have done that shit. But yeah, Utah State's down here. Looks like a down year compared to the last couple years. Coastal Carolina leaves a lot to be desired. Toledo's down here. Toledo just got raided, man. They lost starting quarterback, starting running back. They lost some stars on defense. But Toledo looks like the cupboard's bare. They tend to recruit pretty well, so they might have some players that we haven't seen or heard of. I checked all the tape. I checked the whole roster. I feel comfortable with where they're at right now at 92. I know that doesn't sound good, but the way Toledo's led is their defense. And then Candle, they got a good coach, so they can take a team like this with a 48 offense that I give them, and he can get more out of them because they have a good coach. East Carolina, I think they have a good coach. He just hasn't had the right pieces put together. They'll figure that out eventually, but East Carolina's here. Jacksonville State, love everything Rich Rodriguez is doing, but their quarterback room is scaring me, bro. That's scaring me. They might start a quarterback. They say they're going to be playing this quarterback, and you guys, if you're an MVP last year, you know how I feel about certain players in America. And I'm telling you, I check starting lineups, I check depth charts, and they're telling me Logan Smothers is the starting quarterback for Jacksonville State. That will get your ass at 90 in a heartbeat. Logan Smothers is bad, bro. Logan Smothers, he's a transfer from Nebraska. He's a dual threat white guy. He's terrible, okay? I don't like him. Miami of Ohio, lost some pieces, lost their running back. Graduation, things like that. Miami of Ohio is led by their defense. They have stud linebacker. Matt is an amazing linebacker. Miami of Ohio is here. UAB down here. Start cooking, bro. You got Jacob Zeno. You can do this. You can do this. You bring back Isaiah Jacobs. That's Josh Jacobs' little brother. They tell me he's not a good locker room guy. I got teammates reaching out to me in the DMs telling me he's not a good locker room guy. Hope he doesn't die in a car accident. And then I got to change up the narrative. I can't tell the truth about somebody. I was talking about that today, man. I was like, hey, I can't wait for Lawrence Taylor to pass away. So then all the creeps can get in the comments and start saying what an amazing person he was. What an amazing teammate he was. I want you to defend that man's character. Stop defending people's character after they die. Just let them die. And when you die, bro, you don't rest in peace. You don't go anywhere. I don't believe in none of that afterlife bullshit. Fertilizer, bro. You turn into fertilizer. Ask somebody. Back to what I was saying. I go off on my tangent because UAB has a guy in the running back room that people don't like. And I'm going to say it. And it's going to be on tape. And if something ever happens to him, I'm not going to change the narrative. I'm not going to be fake. And be like, oh, he was really, really good. I'm going to tell you a true story, man. I don't mean to go off on this tangent. I joined the Army. I was a young private. I had this E5, and he was like 28, 29 years old. To us, he was older, right? I was 20 years old. And it was this guy, and his name was Barrett. You can look him up. His name was Barrett. I don't know. He passed away in Sierra Vista, Arizona, back in 2000 and maybe 2005 timeframe. And Barrett was an alcoholic. And I'll never forget when I was late to work one day. My alarm clock didn't go off. I was panicking. I don't know if you know what it's like to be late in the Army. It's a pretty big deal. It's terrible. And so I get to work, and my sergeant's yelling at me. He's like, where have you been? And he's doing all this stuff. And he's getting hot. He's getting heated. And I'm standing there, and I had enough. I just looked at him, and he says, where have you been? And I said, I was out looking for Barrett. I was out looking for Sergeant Barrett. So I was late. But there's another guy that was later than me. And he's never there. He's late every day. And nobody yells at him because he already had an Article 15. He was already a shitbag. He was already barred from re-enlistment. He was already getting kicked out and court-martialed. Nobody cared. So he just gets blitzed in his barracks room drinking. He's an E5, lives in the barracks. He's just getting drunk every day. And one time I had to go to his room to get him to come to work. It was 1300 in the afternoon. 1300 in the afternoon. I knocked on his door. And he answered the door in his boxers, bro. And he was hungover. He's like, huh? What? I'm like, you got to get to work, Sergeant. They told me to come get you and make sure you're alive. He's like, I'm alive. And he shut his door and went back in his own throw up on the floor. I'll never forget it. Because 2 months later, that man committed suicide. 2 months later, that man committed suicide. And we had to do a memorial service. And I was the Soldier of the Year, so I was elected to be a pallbearer and to give a speech. But before I gave my speech, before I gave my speech, the commander got up to give his speech. And the commander went to the podium and started talking about this man and what a hero he was because of the sacrifices he made in his life to serve the United States Army. He committed suicide. He was a drunk. He was Article 15 court-martial getting kicked out of the Army. But here's a guy on the podium who yelled at this man every day, belittled him to no end, and he commits suicide, and this man is on the podium talking about what a great hero he was. I remember standing there, and I'll never forget the feeling I had. I said, this guy is full of shit. This is the worst human being. This guy's worse than the guy who just died. You're lying in this place that people come to. We're in a church. You're lying in this church at the podium. It impacted me forever. It changed my way of thinking forever. I looked at everybody there and I said, what is this? No one wants to tell the truth? If you were a piece of shit when you were alive, when you get in that cat, you're still one. It doesn't change. Why are we doing this? Why are we censoring ourselves for the sake of people's feelings? Why are you lying? I'll never be that person, bro. Never. So if I say somebody is substandard and they happen to die the next day, I'm not going to change my narrative to make you feel better about it. Never. We are products of our life's lessons. We are products of our experiences. And that experience that day taught me I will never lie about somebody after they pass. What are they always do that shit? Oh, well, they're in a better place now. No, they're not. Oh, he used to brighten up the room. No, he didn't. You all want to feel good about yourselves. You all want to be a part of something bigger than yourself. All that shit, it doesn't pertain to me. It doesn't resonate with me. It doesn't motivate me. So I'm going to say some things about some of these players, and one day they're going to get arrested. One day they're going to die. And I'm not going to go back and change it. It's recorded forever in 4K. It's posted. You might change. your perception. You might change your narrative and then come in here and try to force me to change mine, but it's never going to work with me, bro. It's never going to resonate with me. Because I'm not fake. Because I'm authentic. I don't stress the small stuff, man. And it's all small stuff. That's real. Let's get back to the chat, and then I'll get back to the list. We just finished UAB. They have a decent quarterback. I like Jacob Zeno, and I think Trent Dilfer is going to do the most he can with him. Let me get to the first SEC team on the list, 87, Mississippi State. That's right. I have Mississippi State way in the hell down here. I'll get to them right now. Let me go back to this chart, though. Shout out to Ross Harrell. He says, thanks for chatting, man. Nope. We're going to go back up above that. That wasn't the last one. This is great. Nobody does it like Rico. Thank you, Connor. Thank you so much. Appreciate you, Rico. Thank you, Charles Thurman. I apologize for running through some of these teams and not even naming the players and going in depth. I'm saving that for the season and all my daily podcasts because I do a daily podcast on every single conference, if you didn't know that, during the football season. Monday is the ACC and Conference USA. Tuesday is the Big Ten and the MAC. Wednesday is the Big 12 and the American. Thursday is the SEC and the Sun Belt, and then Friday will be the Mountain West and Independence. That's how we're going to do it. And every single day at 5 p.m. Eastern, there will be a podcast where I talk about all the teams and all the matchups and all the games for those conferences. And you can ask me questions specific to those conferences on those days. So please be here every day for that. I'm going to start the podcast probably in about 2 weeks. We do that in preparation for the season, and we don't miss anything. Thanks for chatting, man. I know you will get to them in the 30s, but will DJU put it together for FSU? Well, if DJU is going to put it together for FSU, DJ Ungalele, it'll be the first time I ever see him put it together. I don't think he has a dominant running back room. I don't think he has elite wide receivers. So if he's going to put it together, it's going to be on him. I think Florida State's defense is elite. Their offense is very average. It does not move me. I'm not excited about FSU. I believe they're right up there for the third or fourth best team in the ACC. I'm not too excited about their chances. Remember, before last year, when they had all these NFL guys become seniors, and it was just the right sweet spot. Keon Coleman and Benson and you know, Travis Jordan and like Jordan Travis and all these guys. Like, when that sweet spot hit last year, that was because they were coming off a 9-win season, and I made the declaration last offseason. I was like, hey guys, I think Florida State's going to be a top 10 team. I just saw them beat Oklahoma, and I think Oklahoma's a top 10 team. This was last offseason, and everybody thought I was crazy. And I'm like, no, listen to me. Florida State and Oklahoma are going to be top 10 teams. And Oklahoma was on their way. They were on their way, and then they dropped one. But my goodness, both those teams were as good as I thought they were going to be. And this year, I don't feel that way about FSU. I think they're missing some pieces offensively, and defensively, they look pretty damn stout. So it'll be hard to score on them, but you know, it is what it is. I watched tape on an Akron running back that looks really good. Shout out to you, Ross Harrell. Chance something. That's not who I'm talking about. Definitely not Chance. I'll tell you who it is. It's Charles Kellum. Charles Kellum and Jordan Simmons, who just transferred in. But Charles Kellum, the running back at Akron, looks pretty decent to me. I'm letting you know now. He's a redshirt sophomore. Charles Kellum looks pretty good. So shout out to you. Go look him up. Go find his huddle tape. Charles Kellum. Probably going to be my hidden gem on the team. Or it'll be someone on defense because they have some really good defenders. Charles Kellum. Oh, you wrote it. My bad. There it is. Is that the right guy? That's the right guy. My bad. He wrote it. I don't read the chat ahead of schedule, y'all. I don't read the chat ahead of schedule. Oregon State lost DJU and Damian Martinez. Yeah, and a bunch of wide receivers and a bunch of other guys. They didn't just lose those two, but shout out to you, Carla. I appreciate you for chiming in. I really like DJU as a guy. Not sure he can get it done at our level. Pac-12, he did really well. Yeah, I don't know what the definition of really well is. Pac-12, he wasn't in the top 6 quarterbacks. So I don't know what really well is. You must have had low expectations of him if you thought he did really well. I always say that DJU isn't the reason Clemson went 9-3 and 8-4, and neither in the ACC nor the Pac-12. I think he does well. Yeah, DJU is not to blame for Clemson's failure, just like Cade Klubnik isn't to blame, right? If you want to go there, but quarterbacks get blamed for it. But I think the issue is you lost Tony Elliott. So look, man, to be great at the college football level, these college coaches have to replace their coordinators when they do really well. If you have a really good coordinator, he's going to get hired to be a head coach somewhere, and you're going to have to reinvent yourself. And that's what made Nick Saban so amazing, and that's what makes Kirby Smart so great, is they're losing coordinators, position coaches, and they're replacing them and training them and making them just as good as the replacement's just as good as the guy they replaced. That's the theory behind it. And if you can keep that machine going and keep replacing those guys, plug and play, you're an amazing coach. You're a GOAT. You're one of the best coaches in America. Dabo did that for years, and then out of nowhere, he lost Tony Elliott and has not replaced him with the proper offensive coordinator to get it all together. And they're not getting, and the players are an extension of their coaches on the field. So while I like Phil Maffa this upcoming season, he's a good, decent running back, I don't look at Phil Maffa and go, yo, that guy's going to take over the world and lead the ACC in rushing. I don't think that way. I look at Phil Maffa and I go, yeah, that's an 800-yard rusher. Nothing special. That's how I feel now. Okay, so it's just one of those things. Toledo lost their first-round NFL number 24 first-round pick, corner 2. He was a monster. Yeah, so I'm not even talking about defense in this show, but yeah, that's correct. They lost the number 1 corner in the draft. I don't even want to talk about the defense side of the ball because they lost some others as well. May or may not have a man crush on him. Just a great man. Happy to have him chopping. There we go. He was at my number 1, at my 1, but I get that could interchange with the top 3 based on skill set. Yeah. It's a catch-22. I agree, but I don't. Shout out to you, D. Facts, Rico. Like they say, truth hurts. That phrase doesn't mean, it means exactly what you think it does. The truth hurts feelings. The truth hurts a lot. The only thing that happens to you when you're dead is maybe somebody misses you. You'll never know, bro. You'll never know. Life goes on. I had low expectations for the Pac-12. Pac-12 was extremely loaded last year. That's crazy talk. Let's go back. Let's go over here. We're talking about Mississippi State. That's where we left off. Get your comments in the chat here. I will get back to you. If you're watching on TikTok, move over to the chat on YouTube. I will get to you. Okay? We're talking about offensive teams in America right now, and we're talking about Mississippi State. I'm not excited about Mississippi State. Their offense looks like a group of 5 offense in the SEC. Not good. Yes, their offensive line is pretty okay. But everything else, I'm not happy about it. Washington looks equally as bad. I understand. Look at that. And it's just by coincidence. Washington getting the Mississippi State quarterback kind of puts them all on the same rating. Washington's starting running back is a transfer, Jonah Coleman, coming over from Arizona. He's a good player. Star wide receiver, Hunter, coming over from Cal. Good player. But I don't like this offensive line. Offensive line is gone. 2 of them went to Ole Miss. Some went to Michigan State. There's nothing. Oh, I'm thinking, no, wait. I got them confused with Oregon State. Washington. The starting center went to Alabama. 2 still went to Ole Miss. Oh, and then there's NFL draft picks gone. So Washington has actually got like redshirt freshmen in the starting lineup. They've got guys who probably shouldn't have been starting for at least a couple years. And they're there. UTSA, loaded at certain positions that don't touch the ball. Loaded at certain positions that don't touch the ball, and probably have one of the best group of 5 running backs in Kavorian Barnes. And the only reason I have him at 6 is he doesn't have the production I want him to have. He probably will get it this year because the quarterback is, what's his face? The kid who transferred in from Colorado is the McCown kid. The McCown brothers are down there, right? From Rusk. And he transferred in from Colorado. And they got a new starting quarterback for the first time in 6 years or something like that, right? So, but Kavorian Barnes is a great running back. And don't let me fool you. There are 3. I watched tape. There are 3 good running backs at UTSA. 3. It doesn't matter who's in, they can punch it in. All 3 of them can score touchdowns. All 3 of them are really good running backs. UTSA has no shortage of good running backs. I'm telling you that right now. They're good at running back. Solid tight end as well. Cardenas. Cardenas has been there. Cardenas has been there for a while. He's been a starter for multiple years. He's coming back. Offensive line looks good. And defensively, they lost a ton of all-conference guys. It sucks. You lost Trey Moore to Texas. You lost good players. Okay? Maryland. I'm not excited about Maryland's offense. I'm not. They got MJ Morris, who came in from NC State. I was not impressed when he was named the starter. I actually like Billy Edwards Jr. a little more. So they do have probably one of the best backup quarterbacks in the Big Ten, but it doesn't help you when you don't have one of the best starters in the Big Ten, right? You have 2 guys. If you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have one. You got 2 of these guys competing for a position. You don't have a quarterback. Maryland's got a running back. Hemby, right? He's not bad. And then wide receivers, they're okay. Wide receiver room, I'm going to tell you guys this, and just so you guys understand how the chart works, if you're in the Power 4, and you have any numbers below 7, you're probably not quite where you need to be. You should have a 7. A 7 is what you want collectively in a position group. If you have below 7, you're a little bit below average. I'm letting you know. Virginia, hey, Colin Drea played great last year as a true freshman or redshirt freshman. Was he a redshirt freshman quarterback? True freshman quarterback. Colin Drea, competing with Tony Muskett. But once again, similar quarterback room to Maryland, competing for those spots. And look at that. This is 2 teams in the ACC, and their scores are pretty similar. Scores are pretty similar. They got Chris Tyree in the transfer portal, helped their wide receiver room a little bit. This is a former running back, backup running back at Notre Dame. If he goes to the running back room, whatever he does, get him the ball. That's all that matters there. Get him the ball. They do have an offensive line that I thought was respectable. Virginia's offensive line checked out on tape. And speaking of offensive line that checked out on tape, Hawaii is probably a 6 on the offensive line. I gave them a 5. They don't use a tight end, so I gave them a 0. Their wide receiver room, their top 6 wide receivers are back. They just added Spencer from Nevada, slot receiver. Their running backs are fine. Their running backs are not great, but they're fine because they don't use them. This is a Timmy Chang offense, bro. They throw. Schrader's back at quarterback. They're gonna throw for 4,000 yards. 4,000 yards. They do have one really good wide receiver. Really good. So when you watch tape on Hawaii, the wide receiver room sticks out. I think Hawaii is a threat to be a top 3 team in the Mountain West. I really do. I think Hawaii, their defense needs a lot of work. They got Stone at corner, transferred in from Wyoming, but they need a lot of work on the defense. But they're going to score a ton of points. You better outscore Hawaii. You better get out there. It's going to be a track meet. They're going to score. They got receivers for days. There's Bowling Green, one of my favorite teams in the MAC, right there, 81. Bowling Green. You see the first 10 you see down here. That is Harold Fannin Jr., tight end, number 44 when you watch tape. Absolute monster. You're not messing with him. Shout out to Coach Lightwork. He just got stomped out by Bowling Green in his video game because he couldn't stop a running back named Terrion Stewart. When Terrion Stewart's healthy, he's one of the best running backs in the MAC. He's not always healthy. They got a returning quarterback. I hear Coach in the interviews say he's good. I've never seen it on tape, so he gets a 3. He's the transfer from Indiana. But he played there last year. I'm not impressed with him. Never have been, never will be. I don't think I ever will be. I don't. I'm not impressed with it. But Bowling Green's here at 55. Arkansas State tied at 55. Arkansas State, Jalen Rayner at quarterback. Complete stud. Obviously got on the scene, was one of those freshmen that I highlighted at the beginning of the season. I told you guys I think this kid's amazing. The recruiting missed by all the Power 4 schools. They all missed. They're going to get him next year in the transfer portal, or they're going to do something. There's no way they keep him at Arkansas State. He's too good. So, and he's got a wide receiver room that's pretty solid. He's got a wide receiver room that's solid. They have an NFL lineman. Arkansas State's got an NFL lineman, first 3 rounds. That's how good he looks on tape. But he doesn't have everybody with him, but he's good. Northern Illinois, they're going to be hard to deal with, man. They're hard for me to even want to cheer them on. I think the quarterback room, we don't know who's going to be their quarterback. Rocky Lombardi finally left. He just got drafted in the UFL. Rocky Lombardi finally gone. That guy's been at quarterback forever for Michigan State and Northern Illinois. So now they got a new starting quarterback. I don't know much about him. Watched as much tape as I could. I still wasn't impressed, so I gave him a 1. Returning running back, 1,200-yard rusher. Congratulations. Complete stud. And it's Brown. His last name's Brown, and he's the real deal. Wide receiver room, they're not going to be utilizing him. Tight ends there. Offensive line's great. Offensive line in Northern Illinois is good. Oh, by the way, they have a really good defense. They have a really good defense. It ranks really well. I'm telling you, Northern Illinois is sneaky good, and I don't like it. South Alabama, new quarterback, but we've already seen him play before. He's really good. We saw him play in junk time. We saw him play in injury time last year. Good player. Running backs, they got a team full of running backs. They got good players. In South Alabama, you're not going to have bad running backs. Wide receiver room's loaded. Yep. Wide receiver room's good, even though they lost their star wide receiver. They didn't lose their star wide receiver, I don't think. Voisin, right? No, he's good. They got a great wide receiver room, good tight end, solid offensive line. North Texas has to somehow stay relevant. North Texas had an incredible offense last year. I'm sorry, I just moved it too much. Where is it at? North Texas, incredible running back room last year. Incredible. Ayo Adehi, one of the nation's best yards per carry, I think was over 7. He's now at JMU. And then you had Oscar Attaway, went to South Carolina. They had an incredible running back room. And now they just got to figure some shit out. They did get a transfer in their quarterback room. Chandler Morris came over from TCU, former Oklahoma TCU quarterback. He's injury prone like crazy. I hope he stays healthy. But North Texas has a great coach that does a lot with less, and that's Eric Morris. He's great. And look at that. He's right there with the Western Kentucky. Another great offensive mind in Tyson Helton. So these guys getting the offenses the most out of those 56s you see there. Western Kentucky gets Finley in the transfer portal, the starting quarterback from Texas State, who had a resurgence after having a terrible year before, or terrible career before that. The running back room looks anemic. Wide receivers don't look good. Tight end, okay. Offensive line's pretty solid. So offensive line and a quarterback, give him time. He might be able to dissect and pick you apart with these 3 wide receivers. And I say 3 wide receivers, the score is 3. There's not 3 good ones there. Not that I believe in. JMU, even though the entire team from JMU left, Bob Chesney gets hired, former Holy Cross head coach, comes into JMU, brings some Louis luggage with him on the defensive side of the ball. But they got some other guys at running back. They brought in their guy. I'm surprised they didn't bring in Huff. That's a whole nother story. The starting quarterback is a guy who used to start games at Washington. Used to start games at in the Pac-12 at one point in his life. So I think JMU, and they also have Ayo Adeyi, I think JMU is going to be fine offensively. You guys are going to be surprised. They're going to still score. They're not falling off the face of the earth. That's one team that lost their head coach, and they didn't really regress the way people are anticipating. No, they're not going undefeated. No, they don't have Jordan McLeod and all those other great players. They're fine. Wake Forest, sneaky good offensive line. There you go. Remember I told you want to see a 7. Wake Forest has an offensive line. Oh, by the way, Wake Forest defense, pretty damn annoying. Pretty good. On tape, pretty good. This offense is bad. Offense is bad at Wake Forest. I'm not excited about it. They just got Hank Bachmeier to transfer in from La Tech, former Boise State starting head quarterback. Not excited about that at all. Not good. Duke, their coach is going to do nothing with you. Manny Diaz is the new head coach. I don't like Manny Diaz as a head coach. I just don't think he does really good things. I don't think he should have got the job. That's just me. But shout out to Duke. They're doing what they can. Love the quarterback room. Grayson Loftus, the transfer from Texas, right? Oh, he's going to be better than Arch Manning and all that. Well, now he's going to be the starting quarterback, but I still like Loftus. Great running back or quarterback, wide receiver room in Jordan Moore. Jordan Moore, former dual threat quarterback out of high school, 3-star kid, was playing quarterback for a couple years. Now he's been playing wide receiver for a couple years, and he's great. He's good for 60 receptions and 1,000 yards if the quarterbacks can get him the ball. Last year, Riley Leonard gets injured. No good quarterback play at Duke, and he still got his stats, bro. And he got him even with Calhoun in the wide receiver room. So there's Duke. Rice, I'm very intrigued by Rice. Dean Connors at running back is actually really good. Bennett just transferred in. Coleman, I think he's a Bucknell kid, FCS guy. I went and watched his tape. Looks really good as well. Obviously, E.J. Warner just transferred in from Temple. There's some pieces here at Rice. I know nobody's talking about it, but there's some pieces at Rice. I love the quarterback and running back room. Good tight end. There's some pieces, man. They're going to be some turnovers. They did lose some key defenders to the transfer portal. Good secondary players left. They jumped in the portal and left. Stanford. Let's start Elijah Brown, bro. I don't know. Let's start Elijah Brown. Former modern-day starting quarterback for 4 years. You're the number 1 quarterback. You're the quarterback on the number 1 team in high school football 4 years in a row. You've been the starting quarterback in modern day since Bryce Young left. And then you go to Stanford as a 4-star, and they're telling me he's not the starter right now. They're telling me he's the backup, and he's the clear backup according to the spring. Okay, cool. They got a wide receiver I really believe in. They got 2 wide receivers I believe in. They got a recruit wide receiver I believe in. I made a video about him, and when I went and watched his tape, I got to look up how to say the other guy's name before I say anything. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to get it right. Elik Eyomanor. If you can't say his name, I can't say his name. I had to go look it up. Oh, here's my notes for him. All I have is Travis Hunter's father. That's Travis Hunter's daddy right there. That's the man that ate Travis Hunter's lunch in the entire second half and brought Stanford back. That's your boy. Ayo Manor, it says Travis Hunter's daddy. And then the incoming freshman that Stanford has at wide receiver is what's his name? Dang it. Mosley. Emmett Mosley. Go watch his tape. That dude's NFL written all over him. Every now and then, Stanford gets a player they have no business getting because of their degree, their academic acumen, if you will. They get these players. You know who they are. The McCaffreys of the world, the Andrew Lucks. They get players, and you're just like, damn. That's how I feel about Emmett Mosley's tape. One of the best wide receivers. And they try to tell me he was 3 stars? They try to tell me he's 3 stars? He'll be in the starting lineup day one. He's one of the best football players in whatever conference he's playing in the ACC. He's one of the very best players I've seen on tape. I don't care about recruiting websites, the stars, the rank. I don't care about none of that. I watched the tape. I said, Emmett Mosley? I wrote down pro. Not pro potential. I wrote down pro. Letting you know now. Shout out to Emmett Mosley. Let me go back to the chat here. We'll stop on Stanford, and then we'll keep it moving. We'll get to number 70 there, Boston College. Let me go back to the chat. It says, why did you leave out N'Keal Hill-Green out of the linebacker list? Good question. Just oversight on my part. Spontaneous combustion. I didn't add it in there. I did review him. Obviously, great linebacker coming out of Charlotte. I really believe in him. I don't think it moves their ranking up all that much, but I can double check. Shout out to N'Keal Hill-Green. Good catch. Thank you so much. Michigan State has national championship potential. I mean, yeah, they do. They do. If if like 20 teams decide not to play next year, they're in. They're in. Michigan State's not terrible. The cupboard's not bare like you would imagine. They got a good linebacker room. They got a good team, man. They got a great coach too. Which group of 5 offense do you think makes the biggest jump, and which ones do you think will drop off from last year? Derek Newcomer, great question. So, if we're keeping it in relative terms, the biggest jump, like they didn't have a good offense and now they do, is probably Colorado State. But they had a good offense. I just think they're going to be the top offense in the Mountain West. Like I've seen Boise. I understand everybody believes in Boise because they have the best running back in Group of 5. Colorado State has the best. I mean, they just have the most opportunity to really excel in the Group of 5. They really do. But the biggest jump and improvement, Group of 5, biggest improvement. Sheesh. I mean, it would have to be somebody who was absolutely terrible and now they're okay. I'm trying to think. The biggest drop-off is like Troy. Troy's dropping off. But improvement, like, I don't know, man. UNLV was great. Oh, I mean, look, I have App State at 35. I think App State is going to make the playoffs if Memphis doesn't get it done. App State and Memphis are my top 2 teams for the playoffs in the Group of 5. And where's Memphis at? I have Memphis. Where were they at? There's App State. Where the hell's Memphis? I don't know where Memphis is. Memphis is somewhere here. I'm probably scrolling right past it. I just don't see it. I'm going too fast. Are they top 10? There they are. They're 12th. Memphis is 12th. So maybe Memphis for you guys. Now, for me, look, I don't say Memphis. Memphis is the 12th best team in America offensively. And I know you guys think I'm crazy. But Seth Hennigan just put up 40-something points on Iowa State's defense, who was amazing. Seth Hennigan has thrown for over 3,000 yards 3 seasons in a row. He has great wide receivers. His running back room is absolutely loaded. He just got South Carolina's leading rusher to transfer in the running back room, and they still got other running backs. So Memphis is so good, it's scary. Memphis is a mother flipping problem. And I don't think anybody's paying attention. I know Vegas ain't paying attention. I know that. Memphis and App State. Gonna shock the world. Yeah. Biggest drop-off, Troy on offense. I would say Troy. Who else had a decent offense? San Jose State. They're going to fall off the cliff of the earth. And they had Cadero last year, right? So they were pretty good on offense. So there's 2 offenses that are falling off the face of the earth. New Mexico State had an incredible offense last year, won 10 games. They'll be absolutely terrible in the Group of 5. And I expect Ohio to really drop off. So there you go. Those are some teams that are not going to be good, and then the teams that I think are improving the most on the offense are way up here. And we're currently around 70. But I really like Colorado State. I really like Memphis and App State. Like those three teams, must-see TV. Must-see TV. Let's see here where we at. How long does Tony Elliott have left at Virginia, in your opinion? One more season, man. He better do decent. He better do something that we can get excited about this season. He really needs to. The one thing I will say about, if you guys don't know this, remember the mass shooting that had people killed? It actually bought him an extra year. They gave all the players an extra year of eligibility at Virginia on top of COVID, on top of redshirting. They all get an extra year of eligibility. That year did not count for any of them because of the mental health weight that was placed on them. Something to that regard. So maybe he got another year. Maybe he got a freebie from the coaching staff or from the athletic director. I don't know, but the results on the field don't look good. Make sure you have pies from Jonah's. You need them. Oh, I don't know what Jordan Stuckey's talking about. Nebraska doesn't feel like a very much improved team to me. Nebraska feels very, very similar, especially after reviewing them. I have them at 59 on offense. I'm not too excited about Nebraska's potential. You have a true freshman starting quarterback. How much of an upgrade is he from Sims? I don't know. He's definitely an upgrade from what you had later in the season, but not at the beginning of the season. I don't think it's that far of an upgrade. Your running back room took a step back. And you have Irving in here. I know Irving well. I saw him at Buford in high school a lot. I don't know if he should be leading a running back room in the Power 4, if you will. Wide receiver room, decent transfers showed up. Nair coming in, but offensive line's okay. Offensive line's probably the best thing about Nebraska, and the rest of it isn't moving me like that. And a lot of people talk about the defense. I won't go there right now because I'm not ready for that episode, but I can tell you that I'm not talking about the Nebraska defense. So go figure. I'm not too excited about Nebraska. No. It seemed like an average-ass team to me. My fantasy team is Rocky Lombardi. I go by Rocky, by the way. Shout out to you, Rocky. What up, Rocky Harrell? Hey, Rocco, where's Adrian? Why did I see you on 2 different lives on TikTok? Andre, you saw my twin brother? That ain't got shit to do with me. MVPs made money on your ladder picks last year. Shout out to Noah Markley. Generally, you were taking the NFL caliber skill players to get yards and catches. Can't wait for them this season. There you go. So what Noah Markley's talking about is during the football season, I will give you my picks and my assessment on certain matchups, and then I will tell the MVPs, my members, on Patreon or YouTube, not subscribers, not followers, the members. I will tell them in the chat or on a live stream like this. We have live streams private to only us. We have a stage is what we call it, where only MVPs can be in if you're a member, and you'll be in there. And I will tell you on a Saturday morning, I'll be like, hey, guys, there's a game between Toledo and Ball State, and you need to ladder Newton's yards. I'll say something like that. And you have no idea who I'm talking about or what I'm talking about. But the MVPs know what that means. That means you go in there and you bet 20 yards, 40 yards, 60 yards. Ladder it to 140 yards receiving. Trust me. And you don't want to know how many times these MVPs were eating like a mother flipper, bro. They were losing their minds. Our ladders were going insane. Restrepo before the bowl game. Go ladder that shit. I told them one game, the Memphis game, Memphis versus Iowa State. I couldn't believe it. They were 10-point underdogs. I started screaming on cam. If you can find that video, where did I post that video? I had to have posted it on Patreon. I start screaming, you guys, Vegas has no idea what they're doing. We need to go do. They're going to score at least 35 points. They did score 35 points. I say, ladder everybody. And it fucking happened, bro. Everything I said happened. Everything. We made so much money. We made so much money. The MVPs, I'm going to give you guys a taste of what it looks like. I got to go find it. Look at this right here. Oh, shit. I'm laughing because I know what happened. I know what happened. This guy says, you're the man, hammered the over, Memphis plus 10, 4 touchdown half. Great work on this one. Almost too good to be true. You guys, this really happened. Excuse me.
I love Iowa State to score, too. So,
watch this. This was last year.
The bowl game, Memphis at Iowa State. This is going to be a prime example of where I think Las Vegas has no fucking clue who Memphis is. Like, straight up. Okay, I look at this matchup. It's 10.5 points on the spread. I'm taking Memphis at 10.5 points. Iowa State hasn't beaten anybody by 10.5 points. I mean, if they have, it's news to me. Who do they beat by 10.5 points? They won BYU. Okay. BYU and Baylor. I said nobody. 2 out of the last 5. 2 out of the last 5. I don't give a shit. I'm telling you, Memphis can score all day. And if you don't believe like that Memphis is going to be within 10 points, take the over and take it and just don't worry about a damn thing. Memphis defense is terrible. Iowa State's going to score 30 points. But there's just no way Memphis is not scoring 35 points. There's just no way this score isn't 45-35.
Do you guys understand that I am actually saying a 10-point underdog is going to beat these dudes? A 10-point underdog from the group of 5 is not just going to cover the spread. I said there's no way. I said Iowa State's going to score 30, but these other guys are going to score 45, bro. Like, there's no way. Listen.
Iowa State can win the game. I don't care. I'm just letting you know. Memphis will not be held to whatever the hell they have down here. 23.5 points. No way. Seth Hennigan is the greatest quarterback nobody talks about. Seth Hennigan is going to be doing this damn thing. Now, look, man. They're all banking on Abu Sama here. They say anytime touchdown. Got it. If you guys don't know, Abu Sama went absolute ham on K-State. Went ham on K-State, 276 yards. Excuse me, 17 yards a carry, 3 touchdowns. I know. He caused the other 2 running backs, to Cartavius Norton and Eli Sanders.
Listen, it doesn't even matter. We can get to the good parts.
Scoring, bro. You want
Like
to
this,
who these people are. Jaden Higgins going to score. Jalen Knowles going to score. Rock Taylor has a chance to score. Demir Blumpkinsey is the fastest player on Memphis. He's a matchup nightmare. You can't cover this dude. So even if we get rid of these guys are scoring, bro. You want to get rid of it? Okay. Iowa State's scoring. Memphis defense is terrible. They're scoring. That's real, y'all. Okay. Enough of that nonsense.
And mind you, I have a parlay going over here, and it's some insane number. I don't even want to make the picture go full screen. It's some insane number. But I'm telling you, we hit on all this.
He's a problem. Jaden Higgins is just like Rock Taylor, kind of tall, whatever. Noel gets thrown the ball a lot. I don't know who's going to get the most receiving yards this game. I just think there's value in this one, but I don't know who's going to get it. Could be an Iowa State guy. Over yards. Both these dudes. Rocco Becht is going to get over 220 by halftime. Like, I don't think Memphis plays defense, guys. Memphis defense is terrible. You can throw all over them. I know they're running the ball. Rico, they got Abu Samu. He's running the ball. I don't care. I really don't understand this 259. This one I lost my shit right here. I'm going down the list. I said, oh, my God. 259? Are you crazy? Seth Hennigan, 259? This shit should say 320. It should say 320. Player passing touchdowns. Seth Hennigan. He's going to throw 2 touchdowns, y'all. He's going to throw 2 touchdowns. He's got to. He's got to. They want to win. He's got to. 65 yards is about right for Blake Watson. Careful. I don't like betting on a guy to get to 98 yards. It should happen. There's a couple guys hit the portal, but nothing too major.
Watch this.
All of them, Blake Watson's the only shaky one here. Receiving yards. I just said take the over on all these cats, bro. Take the over on all of them. Blake Watson's the only shaky one here. But I would take the over on all these receiving yards. You want to parlay them? Parlay them. Do what you do, bro. You guys make different parlays. You guys cook how you cook. I'm just letting you know they got this shit wrong. There's no way. They got this wrong, bro. They got this wrong. Especially this Blumpkinsey 56. He's going to have that in the first quarter, man. It's fucking nuts.
He had it in the first quarter. He had 56 like on his second catch.
Nuts. Insane. Rocco Becht's going to throw. I think he'll throw. I think he's good for 275. And you walk away with minimal profit. Got it, but you're going to hit. I don't know why anybody's making any money here. All right, first half total. I believe in the over. I love Iowa State to score too. So I don't know about all the overs, but man, this is nuts. Have fun. Ladder those receivers. The Iowa State receivers, the Memphis receivers, and sit back and watch the fucking carnage. This is worth watching. Your friends don't know, but Rico knows. Good luck.
So, sorry for going back and rehashing that. Just needed to let you guys know. Some MVPs made so much money that day from laddering all that stuff, they never forgot it. And that's why that gentleman brought it up right now. That gentleman brought it up. He said, oh, my God, Rico, when you told us to ladder all these yards. And we did it again with Miami the next day, the next bowl game. You saw that against the spread. I was 60% last year. It's pretty hard to do when you're doing the entire season and you're doing all the games. And I still went 60% against the spread. We didn't even keep track of the props. We didn't. We will this year. We will this year. Shout out to all the MVPs, man. You guys make my life possible. It's an exciting time with football season coming up. Oh, by the way, UFC, our locks, my locks on the UFC, 83%. We are 39-3 over the last 42 locks. 39-3 over the last 42 locks. We got fights tomorrow. All the MVPs are here watching us. They're excited about the fights tomorrow. Shout out to you guys for being here. Thanks for being here on a Friday night. I don't care. Shout out to TikTok. If you're watching, please get over to YouTube. Leave a comment. I'll get back to you. Shout out to you guys for being here. Let's go back to the chat. Torrey Horton was a big ladder play last season. Yeah, Torrey Horton's a beast. He's an NFL player. But I absolutely love that you don't like Manny at Duke. Hey, Rocky, I don't like Manny anywhere, bro. Troy. Yep, Troy's falling off. Mosley going to get those ladder plays. I hope Mosley, as a freshman, I wouldn't bet on his props too often, but let's hope he gets there. Coach Parker at Troy has done a great job this offseason picking up JUCO players and won the Sun Belt recruitment for 2024. Yeah, unfortunately, when you do that, right, and you're bridging the gap and you're doing all this stuff, when I assess the continuity on certain teams, it's not comparable, right? So when I look in the Sun Belt, App State returns everybody. This is App State's year. They return everybody of significance. Yes, Nate Noel left and went to Missouri, but they still have Kanye Roberts at running back, who is, that guy ran for 3,000 yards in high school, like senior season. That dude is so good. Kanye Roberts starting running back. Joey Aguilar is a senior quarterback. You're not going to match that with some plug-and-play guys, some JUCO guys, some first-year starter guys. It doesn't work that way. When there's people, it comes in cycles. And this is their year of everything that looks right. South Alabama looks better than Troy by a significant margin, at least on tape. But Arkansas State, Troy, they're all very comparable, right, to one another. It's just there's some teams that are far and away better than the rest of the conference, at least in my assessment. And, I only do this for a living. I only advise thousands of people for a living. I got to be right. Like, that's why I can't be guessing. Like, when I say things, I never go like, yo, I got this hot take for you guys, and I got to slow down. I got to be right, or else there would be people in here telling you I wasn't right. There would be MVPs in here telling you it's not worth your time, or I'm always wrong. That you're not going to find that anywhere. You're not going to find that because I put in the due diligence and the time and the effort to get it right. I'm never guessing. I sit down, and when I look at two guys, I don't go, oh, I think I like this guy better. That's fandom. I don't do that. I sit down, and I make up a metric, and I assess the players, and then I put them through the metric, and then I let the metric tell me which one's better. Yes, I have the eyeball test, but there's more to it. Did Nicolosi leave Colorado State? I'm behind trying to catch up on all the videos. Noah Markley, Braden Fowler Nicolosi, or BFN, if you will, the starting quarterback of Colorado State. He did not leave Colorado State. He's such a beast. He's still there. I actually talked to his father. His father invited me to go to the Colorado game with the family. He invited me to go join Colorado, sit on the Colorado State side. It's going to be at Colorado State. So Colorado State game. I got invited to go attend the game. I haven't turned him down. I told him I have a +1. I want to take Kim with me, but something I'm thinking about doing, attending the Colorado State game with the Nicolosi family. Shout out to them. No lies told, those plays were hitting. Thank you so much. Sorry, Rico, a little late. How's Fresno State's defense looking? We're not talking about defense tonight, Donnie. We're talking about offense and only offense. I will talk about the defense in the near future. Florida State's defense, we'll make that assessment when we get there. They do have some players worth talking about. I'm following there. Troy is a mess, and it's not good. It's like FSU with Taggart. No. They're not a mess. If I can be real, I have an inside with the Troy program. I can talk to that gentleman every single day, and he's explained to me that they're running things very professionally, as good as they can. It's not a mess. You just lost some NFL talent, and when you lose seniority, you lose guys who've been starting 3 or 4 years in a row. It comes in cycles. You got to figure it out. And right now, they have to find some pieces, and they don't quite have them. Rock Taylor and Blumpkin C. Ladder that game. Oh my God, Noah Markley was so amazing. Gotta go, guys. BBL, Rico, your friends don't know, but my pillow does. Shout out to you, Rocky. Good night, man. Sweet dreams. Why do you think Troy is a mess? Don't ask that guy that question. I don't think Troy's a mess. Maybe I'm biased because that's my alma mater, but I went in and watched them practice. Yes, you're biased. It doesn't mean they're terrible. I don't think they're terrible. I think they're being run well. I think they're doing the best they can. There's just levels to this right now. They're looking good. I see them being bowl eligible. So before you ever say someone's bowl eligible, that means you have to sit down. You don't look at a team and say that team looks like a 6-win team. You have to sit down, look at the schedule, and identify in the games they're going to win versus the games they're going to lose. You have to actually identify who they're better than. And that's the difficult part. I do agree, though, with you on App State. App State looks like a top 25 team to me. Too good of a chat. Plug the phone in. Thank you very much. I don't think they're as strong as Summerall era, but they won't be bad. No, I don't think there's a Summerall era. I think it's just last year they were really good. Any hopes on Iowa? It's only up for us, right? Aiden Craven, I don't think so. I don't think it's only up for Iowa. I think a couple things are against Iowa. First and foremost, there are new teams in the Big Ten that can effectively score against Iowa, and Iowa will not be able to keep up with any team that can score. Iowa has an incapability to score. Now, Iowa got a new offensive coordinator, and everybody's convinced the offense will be better. I'm sure it will be, and that's the it's only up part that you're referring to. The problem is how much more up can it be? When you talk about Iowa from the offensive perspective, they're ranked 130th. You get a new offensive coordinator. How much does it improve your offense? And you got the same players, essentially. I know a new coordinator changes things, and I know it improves you. But by how much? Because if you improve ahead of like 30 other teams, that is a significant improvement. That is a significant improvement. If you went from the 30th best defense to the number 1 defense in the country, that would be utterly remarkable. So if Iowa were to improve by 30 places on offense, they'd still be the 100th ranked offense in America. So if you think they're going to go from 130 to top 50, you're sadly mistaken. It's not going to happen. That would take several years. That would take a resurgence of recruits. That would take, some type of transfer portal addition that just splashes the water to no end. You need a 5-star quarterback. You need playmaking wide receivers. You need a game-changing running back. I would tell you that Wisconsin is far more poised to improve their offense this season than Iowa. And Wisconsin wasn't terrible, and they lost Braylon Allen. And I think that they're still capable of improving just because of continuity, because I believe in offensive coordinators, some more than others. And I just think Iowa doesn't have what you guys think they have. Like, I think Iowa's going to be better, but it's not like they're top 100 on offense. And I think in a conference like that, it's going to be difficult. But we'll talk about it because we're about to get to them. By the way, we're at Boston College. I don't like Thomas Castellanos. I gave him a 6. I don't think he knows how to throw. And I think their new head coach is going to be very frustrated with that. Coming from the NFL, you're probably used to things. You value things like accuracy, anticipation throws. 2 things that I don't ever see on tape from Castellanos are accuracy and anticipation throws. But he can run the ball, and he's exciting to extend plays and do things. I think he gets benched at some point. I've been saying it, and I could be wrong, but Grayson James just transferred in from FIU, and he's not a very good quarterback, but he's actually a little more accurate. So watch. They got a good wide receiver room. You got to get them the ball. They do have good wide receivers, and they lost one to the transfer portal, and they still have a good wide receiver room. Running back room's okay. Rest of the room leaves a lot to be desired. Then we get to Colorado State. Running back room's gross. They lost. They had to start. Their leading rusher last year was a walk-on. 400 yards rushing. The Colorado State doesn't run the ball. They just throw. And they got everything they need to throw. They got, I want to say they got, who'd they get? Ollie? in the transfer portal, the kid from Cincinnati, former Washington State wide receiver. He's great. He's good. Obviously, they have Torrey Horton. I think Colorado State, Braden Fowler, Nicolosi, and Horton are going to combine for 1,500 yards. All that BFN needs to do, Braden Fowler, Nicolosi, all he needs to do is cut down on the turnovers, and Colorado State will have the best offense in the Mountain West. Just don't throw interceptions. By the way, Colorado State's defense, their secondary, everybody's back. They're stellar. Jack, they're good. Don't let anybody gas you. Colorado State's secondary, very good. BYU, sneaky good team, bad quarterback play. All the receivers returned from last year. That's why they have a 7 there. All their leading receivers are back. Great young running back who split time with a 1,000-yard rusher and was able to take reps away from him and LJ Martin. Good running back. Offensive line, good enough for a Power 4 team. Their defense looks scary at times. Their defense has some players here and there. I think BYU is going to be sneaky, difficult to beat. Sneaky good. Just mark my words on that. Houston, I don't think they're very good, but they have a good running back room and a good quarterback. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with Houston and a great coach. Willie Fritz gets the most out of his players, so I like Willie Fritz. Vanderbilt, hey, the SEC is going to learn about Diego Pavia, and either Diego's going to go out there and do his thing, or Vanderbilt's going to struggle. Now, I saw a bet somewhere that Vanderbilt. You guys better go look at their win total. I think Vanderbilt's going to win 3 games at least. So if you can find a line anywhere that's 2.5, figure that out. I've been talking to the MVPs about it all off season, so it's about time I let the world know. I think Vanderbilt's going to hit the over if it's 2.5. If you find it 3.5 on a book, don't touch it. But Vandy's going to have a difficult schedule and good quarterback play, good offensive line, not bad. Boise State, good offensive line, great running backs. 2 of them. They have 2 really good running backs on tape. 2 quarterback. You get a 5-star, 4-star transfer in who's never played, you get a 3, bro. That's where that's at. UNLV. Love UNLV. Love UNLV. Obviously have Ricky White at wide receiver, one of the best wide receivers in the nation. Just got Matthew Sluka through the transfer portal, one of the best dual-threat quarterbacks in the nation. White dude from Holy Cross, back-to-back 1,200-yard rusher. UNLV is going to be one of those teams you must watch. You must watch UNLV because their offense is that exciting. And I know it's a late-night game. I know you guys don't stay up late. Mountain West. Where are my people at? MVPs. Stay up late and watch UNLV and bet on that damn dude. Bet on Sluka's rushing yards. Find his over on his. I bet they give him only like 30 or 40 yards in his first game. I bet Vegas doesn't know him and they give him a prop bet for 30 or 40 yards. They did that last year. Remember they did that with Riley Leonard against Duke? And I lost my mind. The very first prop bet I ever told anyone to do last year was Riley Leonard rushing yards. Go find that video. It's somewhere on TikTok. Riley Leonard rushing yards, it was 32 yards. I said take the over all day. He led his team in rushing in 2022. We hit on that bet. Then you have Liberty here at 63. Liberty, great quarterback room, great running back room. For the competition, not that great, and great tight end, but not that great on the grand scheme of things. So even though it's 1,400 yards rushing from Cooley, when Cooley was at Wake Forest, I think, or Georgia Tech, where was he before that? Before Liberty, he was either at Wake Forest or Georgia Tech, or both of them. Cooley wasn't that great. He's a third-string running back at the FBS level, at the Power 4 level. So I can't go around giving a guy a 10 just because he rushed for 1,400 yards. I can't do it. So I'll give him a 7 for the production, but for me, Liberty just doesn't really get down like that. They don't. You can believe in them because they're beating up on Conference USA teams, but I don't know. Don't really move me, bro. Won't be the group of 5 representative in the playoffs. No. There's Pitt. Pitt has sneaky good players. They really do. They have a decent wide receiver that people should be talking about. Love the running back room. Rodney Hammond coming back. Rodney Hammond Jr. They got themselves a little kid named Dez and let him do his thing. Desmond Reed, little guy from Florida, speedster. Talk to him on on Twitter. And I really believe in him. FCS transfer. Western Carolina. They brought in all these guys. They brought in their new offensive coordinator from Western Carolina. He brought in 2 wide receivers, one from San Diego State, one from Western Carolina. They're both from FCS Western Carolina. He just went to San Diego State for a year, but he's still from the same school. So they do have players on the team that know the offense, know it well. But Pitt, lost all their defensive players to the transfer portal, to South Carolina and to Colorado. So Pitt's going to be hurting on the defensive side of the ball, but their offense is still pretty decent. Offense is pretty decent. And I like Nate Yarnell, the quarterback. He's a Texas kid. They even brought in Eli Holstein to try to press him. But I saw Eli Holstein in the spring. Doesn't look better than Nate Yarnell. Nope. And I like Eli Holstein. His high school tape is elite, straight out of Louisiana. He's been on the bench at Alabama for a couple years. So Pitt's got some quarterbacks, but he doesn't look good. Speaking of quarterbacks, Rutgers, 8th in Cali McManus is the new starting quarterback. I'm underwhelmed by that pick. Just transferred in to link back up with Kirk Soraka, the offensive coordinator there. He was the offensive coordinator at Minnesota, where 8th in Cali McManus is coming from. So he just followed his offensive coordinator after a year, finally getting rid of Gavin Wimsatt, who went to Kentucky to be the backup quarterback. Don't worry about that. Rutgers still doesn't have a quarterback. They have a good running back in Kyle Monungai. And they have an okay wide receiver room. They did get Demir, is it Miller, to transfer in from the FCS, the FCS leading receiver. Looked good on tape. I want to make sure it's Demir Miller. I don't want to get somebody's name wrong, bro. I'm pretty sure it's Demir Miller. You know, I'm RicoKnows, man. There's so much shit up here in my brain. Demir Miller. I got it right. Shout out to him. I got it right. So, Rutgers... they intrigue me, man. I watched the guy on tape. I want to know what his name is. I got to find it. Don't have it on my notes here. There's a guy on tape. He's like 6'7", 6'8", wide receiver. Obviously, they have Nassim Brantley. He's an FCS transfer. He's decent. But shout out to Rutgers, man. Defense is stout. You play in the Big Ten, you're not going to win a lot of games. It's unfortunate. So, hope they do well. I like Schiano. I like Greg Schiano a lot. I think he should be the head coach of Tennessee right now. Shout out to all the haters. Louisville, I think they regress. There's a team. You guys want to talk about who regresses? I think Louisville takes a step back just because of the quarterback play. Tyler Shuck is not somebody I truly believe in. I think he's going to get injured. They have no NFL running backs like they had last year. I think Chaney will be the starter this year, the transfer from Miami. And all I know about Chaney is he fumbled against Georgia Tech with 20 seconds left and let Georgia Tech win the game when they should have been taking knees. But Louisville's wide receiver room took some attrition. They did find some other players. Ja'Cory Brooks coming over from Alabama, but they lost some players. And they missed on a tight end transfer. They missed on one. They replaced it with another. Offensive line's okay. I'm just not that sold on. I like Brom. Like, I'm cool with Brom. He's a poor man's Lane Kiffin. He's a great coach, but I don't think he's doing well with personal relationships. I've talked to 3 players from Louisville who have hit the transfer portal, and not a single one of them has anything glowing to say about their head coach. And I'd imagine transfer players are all disgruntled, but not all of them, right? But they're disgruntled and they're going to say negative things. They just didn't have anything positive to say. He's a good coach. He wins. Kind of cutthroat. Not here to make friends, right? The weird thing is Pierce Clarkson, who's not one of his recruits, he's a former St. John Bosco quarterback, dual threat, short guy. Doesn't seem like a quarterback that would be a Brom-type quarterback. He's number 2 on the depth chart. It's weird. He's worked his way up, and I didn't think he'd get there because he was missing team meetings. He was very immature when he got on campus. Some of the players are telling me, hey, man, he was late. He's in the doghouse right now because he was like 5th string last year. So to see him 2nd string, shout out to Pierce Clarkson. Hopefully, maybe he grew up. Maybe he matured. That can happen. I'll talk about Nebraska. Like I said, true freshman quarterback. Running back room looks to be a little anemic again. Injury prone. Things going wrong. A wide receiver room improved with some transfers. Tight ends serviceable, very good. And then offensive line is probably the best group on the offensive group. When we look at position groups, I like their offensive line. So shout out to Nebraska. I'll go to the chat now. See if you guys had anything to go. I know it's pretty late. Some people are going to bed. Hang in there, bro. We're here. Let's see what we got. Let me move back up. Too good of a chat. Plugged in. Thank you very much. UGA production season says, been praying on this downfall for a while now. Okay. Well, your prayers will not go answered, buddy. Did you do FSU linebackers? Was Blake Nicholson involved? I did FSU linebackers. Blake Nicholson was not involved. He did not make the 2 deep, and it was not something that I evaluated, not from what I remember when I was watching the film. But it doesn't matter. They have good linebackers. They're just as good as they do. I think meant how was Fresno State's offense. So yeah, I'll talk about Fresno State coming up here. So let me talk about Fresno State. I'll jump back to the chat. Mikey Keene at 5 on the quarterback play. Mikey Keene's a stud. Love him. He's a winner. Hopefully he makes it through the whole season. If he doesn't, there's another quarterback on the roster I really like, and I think he's currently 3rd string, Joshua Wood. I actually like him a lot. So, but Mikey Keene needs to get it done. Running back, you got a 900-yard rusher, Sherrard coming back, stud running back. That's where you get a 4. I know it looks low, but the scale for running backs is pretty tough. First-round draft picks are 10s, right? So, wide receiver room. and this is going to sound weird, and I might sound like you guys don't know this narrative at all, but they got small wide receivers in the transfer portal. Small. Raylan Sharp, Keaton James, both studs at the FCS level, both statistical monsters who just transferred in, FCS wide receivers, but they're really short, like 5'8" short. And the problem I have, and it's going to sound weird, guys, is when I review tape, short quarterbacks don't find short wide receivers on certain routes. Because the linemen are too big, they can't see certain wide receivers on their drags. They can't see when they finally clear the zone. They can't see when they settle in a zone. It's just hard for them to see them. And Mikey Keene is short. Okay? And these wide receivers are tiny. I think taller quarterbacks can see the little guys better. If you're a short quarterback, I like you to have taller wide receivers. Very simple metric. Very simple is what I'm saying. And it just, when I look at it on tape, it comes across that way. If you have a small quarterback who's kind of dual thready and rolling out, if you have Russell Wilson or something, I need DK Metcalf, bro. I need a big guy that you can hit. I can't have you squirreling around and then try to find a little 5'8" slot receiver. It just doesn't work for me. It just doesn't look right. And it actually doesn't connect on certain plays. So I hope they figure that out at Fresno State. They didn't put that into thought at all. They had no regard for their height of the receivers. They went out and got two little-ass dudes who are ballers, who I really enjoy watching play. Their offensive line is elite. At the group of 5 level, to get a 7 on the offensive line is elite. They have a very good offensive line. Fresno State's offensive line is probably one of the best, if not the best. I don't think I gave an 8 out for anybody in the group of 5. So they're one of the very best group of 5 offensive lines I've seen. So I think they're going to be very dominant in the Mountain West offensively. Fresno State's going to put up points. Yep, because of that line. Tulane's right here. Tulane obviously returning a great running back in 1,200 yards. And another thing, they brought over the Troy offensive coordinator and head coach. They're going to implement the Troy way of doing things at Tulane. They're going to run the rock a hell of a lot. They'll probably be the nation's leading rusher at running. The wide receiver room is very good. They have transfer portal guys. Yoel Keith Brown is still there. They just got Mario Williams from USC. They lost Chris Brazzell, which sucks. But they still have pieces in the offensive line stacked. And they just got Derek Graham to transfer him from A&M. He's really a Troy transfer. Went to A&M for the winter and then ended up at Tulane. I like Tulane's team, man. They look good. They obviously the offense is there at 57. New coaching staff, going to be some growing pains. Lost NFL talent. So I don't know if they're going to be elite like that, but they lost a lot of NFL guys, and that's not good. Jarris Monroe at corner. You're losing certain players, but they had other good players. Arizona State, improving the best they can, doing what they can, but they're still, I told you, I think they have a head coach. I'm going to get back to the chat here in a second. I think they have a head coach who's still learning, and Dillingham, he's learning how to operate the entire offseason. So he's learning how to utilize all his time, right? All his time, the whole 12-month schedule. He doesn't quite know what to do. So I think there's just some procedures, things that need to improve. You get more efficient. You guys ever seen somebody at work the first time? Like let's say you go to a fast food restaurant and there's a guy at the register and he's probably smart as a whip. Like some of them are probably pretty smart, but he can't find the right button. He can't find the right anything, and he's just kind of looking and he's trying to figure it out. It's first day, right? Come back 2 weeks later. Homie's just zipping, right? And he figured it out. But he's still got to call the manager over. Excuse me, I don't know how to get a discount here. I don't know how to do this. Yeah, you got Kenny Dillingham here. You have a coach who's probably having to call admissions, call over somebody else, and call over compliance and say, are we doing this right? Did we do this right? Are we allowed to visit during this time? Is this a no contact order time? Is this? He's probably still filling out the calendar and understanding what it is. Because when you see their class 3, or their level 3 violations, you'll see coaching staffs learning as they go, and they'll be making mistakes. Like you couldn't post that on Instagram, or you couldn't return this, or you couldn't offer that player at this time. You did things wrong, and then all it ever says corrective, right? The corrective action is like training the staff, teaching them this. They're still learning as they go, right? It doesn't mean anything. You'll see some that manager at that same, if I can use that same analogy, that manager at the restaurant. She can go to that register, hit it all day, and knows everything and never look and get it all right. It doesn't mean she's smarter than anybody. She's been doing it forever, right? So some of these head coaches who aren't the greatest, They just know what to do because they've been doing it for a long time. Kenny Dillingham's still very young. He's still extremely smart. He's still probably better than a lot of coaches out there. He's just in a position he's never held, and he's learning as he goes, I think. You got to find experienced assistant coaches, associate head coaches, coordinators, and you need to find those guys to help, teach you. If you want to know who's doing that, I believe it's happening at Hawaii right now. Dennis Thurman just got hired to be the defensive coordinator at Hawaii. And I think Timmy Chang, as great as Timmy Chang was as a player, he's still a relatively new head coach. And I think he's learning the ropes. And guys like that, getting very senior and experienced guys on your staff that can teach you the nuances of the schedule and kind of hold you accountable and help you. That's what you need. You need that. You need to be humble enough to say, I don't know how to do everything. And that's where they're at on that. Back to the chat. Let's see here. UGA Production Series says, I know you see my comments, Unc. I just saw it, man. We don't do the chat as you're writing it. We let it build up, and then I get to it. I'm talking on the show. I do about 10 or 20 guys on the list, and then I get back to the chat. That's what we do. Aiden Buddy says, you have a top 25 defense. Depending on play, could be a top 10. Don't worry about your team. Fight for the Hawkeyes and keep waving to the kids. There you go. Wave to the kids in the fourth quarter at the Children's Hospital. No, Iowa's got a great defense. They're returning everybody. They look pretty stout on defense, but specifically offense, not too excited about it. 21 viewers, Unc, you fell off. UGA production season, I don't think you've ever seen the channel. I don't think you were ever here before, and I don't think you know what falling off is, bro. Because you're now never going to be seen on this channel. So thanks for being here, but you'll no longer be informed on football. That's just what you did. You did it to yourself, bro. The Wave, best opener in college football, fight me. Okay, I'd rather have your cause. He already addressed Fresno State. It was in the 120s. No, it was not. Fresno State's right here at 58. He stops nearly every 20. Who do you believe will be the group of 5 playoff reps since you think Liberty will be out in 2024? Carla Jenkins, I talked about it earlier in the show. I already said Memphis and App State look to be the leaders for me. Memphis and App State. They feel like the most complete teams. Dillingham cost FSU. He just wasn't ready to be an offensive coordinator. I love him at ASU. He will continue to be great. Yeah, well, he get a chance to do his thing. All right, go back to the list. Thank you guys for the chat. If you're watching on TikTok, just move over to YouTube, put it in the chat. I don't see this chat down here. Please get over there, leave a comment, help us out. We don't mind. And join in the conversation. We're talking about the best offenses in America, and we're moving towards the top 50 here. So now we got Arizona State, like I said, Kenny Dillingham learning what to do. But yes, got a new quarterback, starting quarterback, just a transfer from Michigan State. Wasn't supposed to be the starter, but he is. And a lot of people hit the transfer portal over it. A lot of people were kind of surprised. Congratulations. Running back room. Stacked running back room. I made 4 or 5 videos last year. 4 or 5 videos on Arizona State's running backs. And I'm not just talking about, when they're like, well, Alton McCaskill showed up as well. No. I'm talking about, go back further than that. I was talking about Scadaboo before the world, bro. I was talking about Scadaboo at Sacramento State. I was showing you his high school tape. He's got a run. Cameron Scadaboo, the best running back that nobody talks about, has a run in high school. It was like the play of the year for Cal High Sports or for Max Preps. Go find his tape, and I swear his huddle tape. It's the first run. He breaks like 20 tackles. I know there's only 11 people on defense. He breaks 20 tackles on one run. You're just watching a bowling ball, and you're like, this can't be real. This can't be real. This really happened? And he's just going. And the kid rushed for like 2,600 yards his senior year in Northern California. But he got ignored. Whoa, my mic's cutting out? I apologize. He got ignored. I saw it just red line up here. He got ignored while playing in Northern California, and he had to go to Sacramento State. And he balled out, FCS All-American. So you transfer from Sacramento State, you go to Arizona State, and you're still playing great. Unfortunately, they had him throwing a bunch of passes last year. He ended up throwing passes. It was crazy. I don't know what was going on. Obviously, Rashada didn't work out. He transferred to Georgia. That's fine. But Arizona State doesn't look terrible, but they still don't look good enough to win anything. Shout out to Sam Levitt. Hope he plays great. They really addressed their defensive side of the ball, but they still don't look good enough to win anything. We'll see what happens. I don't believe him. Syracuse. I know a lot of people think Syracuse is going to be great because they got a new coach, Fran Brown, defensive backs coach from Georgia. You think they're going to be great. I don't see them being great. I hope they get back to being pretty decent, But Dino Babers was getting the most out of that team, and I know you don't think he was, but he was because those players weren't very good. Getting McCord in the transfer portal doesn't hurt. Having a solid running back, LaQuinn Allen is cool. Bee's knees, pretty damn good. You see the sixes there. Tight end room is stacked. Rondé Gadsden coming back. I don't believe in him like most people do. I don't think he's amazing. I think he's all right. And offensive line's pretty solid. Illinois' defense is looking pretty decent. I went and looked over Illinois' defense. I'm telling you, they're looking decent. I don't like Illinois' offense. I just don't. I know the wide receiver room's okay. I know some people believe in the quarterback play of Altmaier, like, and all this stuff. Like, bro, the running back room, Fagan, beast. 6'3", 240, beast of a running back. But the rest of it, they're still okay. The Big Ten's just so much more difficult now that they added new teams. Illinois is going to be in for a hurt. And I think that it's going to be a steady decline for a while. Remember I told you guys this 2 years ago. Brett Bielema underwhelmed in 2022. He got a contract extension because of 2022. But in 2022, he had guys that were seniors. He had 4 NFL draft picks. First rounders, second rounders, third round. He had an Illinois player got drafted in the first, second, and third round. And then the next year, he had more draft picks. But you couldn't win double-digit games with those guys? In a year you were supposed to win double-digit games, you only won 8, and you got a contract extension. I don't like it. I think Illinois is on a steady decline. I see them selling kids on how they develop no stars into first-round draft picks. Their DBU, da-da-da-da-da. All that is bullshit. Ryan Walters is the reason you were developing players. He's no longer there. He's now the head coach at Purdue. And this is just another case of a head coach not addressing the replacement of good coordinators. Good coordinators depart, you got to replace them, or you won't be successful. And I think that's the case at Illinois. And people are going to hate me for it because they really think Illinois is on the way up. I think they're right where they need to be. They're pretty stagnant. Speaking of stagnant, there's Cincinnati. Don't get me started. I don't have any. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say nothing at all, Rico. I don't feel too highly about Cincinnati. I don't like what they're doing. Sorsby showed up in the transfer portal, quarterback from Indiana. Love the kid. Good kid. Got a 1,000-yard rusher, Kiner, in the running back room, and have a really good wide receiver core. Okay. And a good offensive line. Cincinnati's offense is sneaky respectable. Defense, they got a good nose tackle. They got a good defensive tackle. I assessed them today. Good defensive tackle. Not impressed with anything else on that defense. And more importantly, I think the coaching at Cincinnati is substandard. I think they don't get the most out of their players. And I'll leave it like that. Shout out to Satterfield. I don't really think too highly of Cincinnati. South Florida, Bryce Brown. Hey, South Florida quarterback, one of the very best in America. That's how you get an 8. That's the first 8 you've seen in a while. At quarterback, you haven't seen an 8 at quarterback, right? No, you haven't seen an 8 at quarterback. You saw 7s at Colorado State, Braden Fowler, Nicolosi. You saw 7 at Liberty. Makes sense. But you get over here at South Florida, that's the first 8 you've seen at quarterback. And I'm telling you, there's other players at South Florida that can play. They look okay on tape. I watched so much film. I'm trying to think of who the other kid is that I wanted to tell you guys. Oh, it's number 38. He looks like a freak of nature. He's a wide receiver. Sean Atkins. I believe he's a former walk-on. Turn on the tape. There's a wide receiver out there. He looks weird. He looks like Bill Bates. I don't know if you guys know who Bill Bates was. He was a special teams player on the Cowboys in the 80s, in the early 90s. Bill Bates. That's what this guy looks like. And he's out there catching passes. South Florida has a weird little thing. They got a running back room. Naquan Wright, transfer from Florida, former 4-star kid. But you're not going to see a better style than Byron Brown. And what's remarkable, let me say something to you guys. Alex Golesh took over a 1-11 team at South Florida. 1-11. He lost Brian Battie, star all-conference running back, got shot in the head after he transferred to Auburn. He lost Jimmy Horn Jr., He lost Xavier Worthy. They both transferred to Colorado. A 1-11 team. And he put them on the map. And he made them great. With an offensive scheme, with great coaching. He didn't bring in 60 transfers. A 1-11 team. He flipped them. Something that Colorado couldn't do. Oh, but Rico, it was an easier conference. Okay. Northwestern was a 1-11 team. And David Braun won 8 games. And he got that head coaching job 30 days before the season started. They didn't get any transfers. They actually lost players. Shout out to Nigel Glover. He just jumped back in the portal, going back to Northwestern after leaving them last year to go to Ohio State for a year. I saw coaches flip 1-11 teams into 8-win teams, into bowl games. South Florida, Northwestern, David Braun, Alex Golish. These are college football coaches. These are guys that have been coordinators for a long time and learning the ropes, and then they're ready to be a head coach. And the results speak for themselves. Shout out to South Florida. They're exciting, man. Exciting team, good offensive line, good wide receivers. Byron Brown. Go turn on the tape. Byron Brown, stud. Won't be at South Florida for long. One day, say Byron Brown will be the starting quarterback at Florida State, at UCF. He'll be the starting quarterback somewhere like that. He's going to take off. He's too good. Indiana. Indiana's my team, bro. Indiana's my team. You don't rock with Indiana, you don't rock with me. Indiana hiring Kurt Cignetti. He wins everywhere he goes. What a great coach. Former JMU head coach. In the portal, you get Rourke, starting quarterback from Ohio. You get all the running backs from JMU. You get wide receivers for days. You get Elijah Surratt coming over from JMU, 1,000-yard receiver. You get a receiver from Indiana returning who didn't drop a single pass last year. You get another receiver who just transferred in from Wisconsin? Oklahoma State. Where's he from? Don't remember. I hate it. Hate getting it wrong. Can't remember right now. Texas Tech. Man, that's not good. I need to be able to recite entire teams. Where's Miles Price from? I'm Texas Tech. I got it right before I found it, bro. I got it right. Get at me. Indiana's them, bro. Indiana is them. I like Indiana a lot. I love what they're building. Shout out to their coaching staff. Yes, they're in the Big Ten, so it's going to be difficult to win. But that's a team that's improving immensely via the transfer portal. Love Indiana. Love Indiana. Love everything about Indiana. You can't get me off that bandwagon all day. Remember, you guys always ask me, Rico, who are you a fan of? Who's your favorite team? All this stuff. It changes every year. And it's usually based upon teams that are utilizing the transfer portal to the best of their ability. I want to see improvement. I want to predict improvement. And I'm telling you, Indiana's a 51 team. Top 50 defense, top 50 offense. Indiana, ahead of Nebraska. What are you talking about, Rico? I'm talking about watching film, bro. UCLA at 50. Shout out to Deshaun Foster. Love everything about him. He's got an uphill battle. Ethan Garber is a sneaky, quiet, good quarterback. Obviously beat out Dante Moore for the spot. Running back room, you got a couple of guys that played at St. John Bosco, a couple of guys that are pretty decent. I'm cool with it. Wide receivers. Michael Sturdivant coming in from Cal last year. Still there. Still okay. Got a good slot receiver. Watching tape, they look fine. Offensive line is stout. Offensive line is beast. They got NFL offensive linemen. At least 2 of them. Love that team. Purdue, trying their best to improve, man. Hudson Card better get it done. I'm cool with Purdue. They better do something. Ryan Waltz is trying his best. Probably don't have a lot of high expectations. Probably still got an uphill battle, obviously. Brom left them nothing to deal with, nothing to work with, but they're trying, man. But they're still not there. When Kendrick Breedlove leaves Colorado because he can't get on the field, and he's a scrub, and he transfers to Purdue because he's following his cornerbacks coach. If you guys don't know this, Purdue hired the cornerbacks coach from Ole Miss. So any Ole Miss players transferring to Purdue, it's a hookup, and it's a guy. So if you see players transferring to Purdue in the secondary, it's because they were once recruited by Ole Miss. So it's kind of going full circle. So Kendrick Breedlove going to Purdue is just him linking back up with his old corners coach. But that's a defensive conversation. I just think Purdue has a long way to go before they're relevant because of their defense. Excuse me. Okay? Here's K-State's offense. All you guys like that Avery Johnson kid. He's a straight 5 for me, bro. Don't know anything about Avery Johnson's ability to throw. I know he can run. I haven't seen him throw a pass that matters. Not impressed by it. DJ Giddens at running back with another transfer from Colorado and Dylan Edwards. Like, they're cool. Wide receivers. Wide receivers don't look good to me. They get a 5. And then tight ends, okay. Offensive line's pretty stout. K-State's led by their defense. They don't have a lot of team speed. They run the ball, and their defense makes stops. That's what K-State does. They're really well coached. They get the most out of it. Chris Kleiman, one of the very best coaches in America. I'm hard-pressed to put anyone ahead of him. He's just, pound for pound, one of the best coaches in America. K-State head coach, former North Dakota State head coach, former North Dakota State defensive coordinator, won a bunch of national titles at the FCS level, comes over to K-State, 3-star guys, getting them drafted, winning the Big 12. Like, he's doing the most he can with what he has. Speaking of doing the most you can with what you have, Wisconsin better do that this year. Wisconsin has a quarterback coming in that a lot of NFL teams like. He's a Northeast quarterback, okay? Go do your research on quarterbacks that come from the Northeast. They all look the same. They're all kind of big, kind of white and slow, and they think those guys are NFL quarterbacks, and they think he's one. Van Dyke coming over from Miami. Congratulations. But Wisconsin does have young, fast running back. I love their true freshman running backs that are coming in. They're not in the 2 deep right now. It might take them a little while to get there. They have some ballers as true freshman running back. I watched the tape. I'm like, yo, trust. Wisconsin's got running backs. They did just lose an all-time great in school history in Braylon Allen. I don't know how they're going to look. It doesn't look good. Akers should not ever be in your 2 deep at running back, just so you're aware. Wide receiver room, beast. Wide receiver room is great at Wisconsin. They just got Joe Griffin to transfer in after the spring because they needed him. He was the second leading receiver out of Boston College. He's pretty damn good. And they also have, obviously, some really good players on the team already. Ponder, some other guys, C.J. Williams from USC. They have a lot of good players on Wisconsin. Offensive line's their best group. Offensive lines, they're studs, absolute studs. If they don't get injured, they got a great offensive line. There's USC at 46. I'm not sure about USC's running back room. I'm not sold on Woody Marks. Love their wide receivers for what they are. Quarterback looked good enough in the bowl game. We'll keep it going. Offensive line looks nope. That's what I'm going to say. Offensive line looks nope. Offensive line looks power 4 anemic. Does not look like a power 4 offensive line. Looks very group of 5-ish. I shit you not. Offensive line doesn't look good to me. Iowa. Quarterback, underwhelmed by the quarterback position all the way around. Shout out to Sullivan, who might save the season. Running back, not impressed. Wide receivers, not impressed. And then you got a great tight end coming back off of injury and one of the best offensive lines in America. That's what you got at Iowa. There's no recipe for success there. It's just a great offensive line. TCU, and then I'll go back to the chat when I get to 40. TCU, Hoover's great. Running back room's pretty solid. Cam's coming out. This is a sophomore. Never really gotten a chance to be the marquee back, slashing running back. Like him. We'll see what he does. They got good wide receivers. Just got a transfer coming in from Boise State. McAllister, absolute monster. Absolutely game changer. I'm going to say something that doesn't sound right. He reminds me of Randy Moss. Doesn't sound right. It's not what I'm saying. It's just what he reminds me of. He is 6'6" or 6'5". Just reminds me of Randy. That's it. Eric McAllister. Good tight end. Drake Dabney just transferred in from Baylor, I believe. And then offensive line. They went out and spent money on their offensive line, and they went out and got a guy for every single position group. It's very good. I like what they did for their offense. I was super surprised and impressed by TCU's addressing the offense line. Baylor did the same exact thing, and they both got the same scores. That's crazy that they're right here at 77. Remember, I do this alphabetical. I have no idea what Baylor's score is when I get to TCU. I can't see the two. I'm not doing a comparison. That's pretty cool. Baylor, quarterback room. I don't like Finn. He just came over from Toledo. Not impressed with him at all. Have you watched DeQuan Finn? If you're an MVP, you've been around all season. I don't like DeQuan Finn. Their running back room. You'll be hard-pressed to find a better running back room. They have really good running backs. Dominic Richardson just transferred in from Oklahoma State after being their leading rusher. He then got to the school, became their leading rusher. Pendergrass was the freshman of the year on the team. He's this big white dude, like a Texas running back. Dude's a beast, 6'2", 230-ish type size. And then Reese. Reese was a 900-yard rusher 2 years ago And then last year, he regressed down to 300 because of all these other guys. Baylor's got 3 running backs worth of damn. They got 3 running backs worth of damn, and they better run that rock like their life depends on it. By the way, Baylor returns all their leading wide receivers from last year. All of them. Congratulations. Tight end, losing your tight end in TCU hurts. Offensive line, like I said, they address it in the transfer portal. And look where I have Texas State. I did this last year. I predicted Texas State was going to beat Baylor. People thought I was crazy. I did it in the preseason. Around this time, I was like, guys, I'm looking at Texas State, man. Their transfer portal class looks amazing. I think Texas State's going to have an amazing season. They're like, Rico, what are you talking about? That team, they suck, man. Bottom of the barrel, man. I'm from Texas. That team ain't any good. I'm like, listen. And they beat Baylor. And they won 8 games. And they set a school record for wins. You falling off, Rico. No, motherfucker. I'm on top of the world because of my predictions. Because my people rock with me. Because the Patreon MVPs and the YouTube MVPs know the truth. Texas State. Jordan McLeod at quarterback. Former JMU quarterback. Former South Florida quarterback. Former Arizona quarterback. He's been everywhere. Jordan McLeod is known goods. Can play quarterback. He's there. His backup. RJ Martinez, former Baylor backup, former NAU quarterback, former high school legend in Texas. They're taking back Texas. Their running back room is so loaded, it's crazy. The running back room is Ishmael Mahdi, 1,300 yards. That's how you get a 9 right here. Torrance Burgess just transferred in from UTEP. And one more running back from UTEP. Who is it? It's going to piss me off that I forgot his name. That's crazy. I never forget his name. I'm going to scream it when I see it. Haney? Is it Haney? Hankins. Deion Hankins. And they're telling me Deion Hankins ain't even up there. They're telling me Jalen Jenkins is doing it. And if you guys don't know Jalen Jenkins, I think he's a troubled kid. He got kicked off the team at Washington State. Hope he doesn't die because I just said something negative about him. But 2 years ago, Jalen Jenkins against USC, I believe he went for over 100 yards. Go look that up. I ain't got time to be Googling. Texas State running back room is a mother flipping problem. Now, they lost some wide receivers to the transfer portal. I don't care. I don't care. You better go look up little Billy Joe Hobart, son. Billy Joe Hobart, former NFL quarterback. Remember Billy Joe Hobart, Billy Joe Tolliver in the 90s. 2 quarterbacks. I think for the Chargers and the Saints, something like that. I don't know if you guys know this. When I was collecting baseball cards, football cards, I remember these cards. I'm like, Billy Joe? Who the fuck are these dudes? Billy Joe Hobart got a son, Joey Hobart. Went to Washington State initially. Then went to Utah Tech. Now he transferred to Texas State. Beast. Bo Sparks. FCS transfer. Beast. They got players you can't cover. Texas State has got an offense, and they're going to put up points all year long. Ishmael Mahdi, their 1,300-yard running back, he ain't like other 1,300-yard running backs. He is the fastest running back. Ishmael Mahdi will be in the Power 4 next year. After this season, he's going to transfer to the Power 4, and you're all going to remember it. You're all going to remember where you heard it. Everybody who watches this live stream, and you know how people go, oh, Rico, there's only 40, 50 people watching this live stream. No, there are thousands of people watch it after I post it. Everybody's going to remember Ishmael Mahdi will be a Power 4 running back next year on his way to the NFL after another season. He's so fast. Friend of the channel. I do talk to him in the DMs. We do have each other's phone numbers. Hit me up, bro. Shout out to you. Texas Tech. Offense. They like Morin. They like Morin at quarterback. I don't. But that's what they have. So they got to rock with it. They did get a good kid out of high school, out of Texas. He passed like 700 yards in a game. Get a little ridiculous. Running back room. Absolutely loaded. Wide receiver room. Absolutely loaded. Got a 5-star wide receiver, 3rd string. 5-star wide receiver, 3rd string. That means your wide receiver room is deep. Dre McCray is my favorite, and he's second string, and he's a kickoff returner, punt returner. And he blazing fast. I think he runs a 10, 400 meters. Former 900-yard receiver out of Austin Peay. Texas Tech has got players for days, bro. Texas Tech is real. Their offensive line needs some help, but they got all the pieces to be great. They better go figure that out. Defensively, a little slow at linebacker. Safety obviously just went pro, so they got to find some help. But Texas Tech can score. They can grind it out. And when your running back gets 290 carries on the season, bro, that's Michael Turner number. That's Michael Burner Turner numbers. Speaking of running back, Minnesota. Minnesota. First, you go and get Max Brosmer at quarterback. And I like Max Brosmer. Led the FCS in passing last year. So you found a real quarterback. That's number one. Then you go to the transfer portal for running back, which is nuts. Because you already have Darius Taylor. Last year, Darius Taylor became the star true freshman running back in the country. Darius Taylor did get injured, but he's an NFL running back. He's just playing at Minnesota right now. So you got Marion Barber III at running back, and you still go hit the transfer portal for Marion Barber III. You go and get Say Bangura, back-to-back 1,000 yards. He averaged 1,000 yards the last 2 years while at Ohio. This is a kid from, I think, the Matha Catholic. This is a kid from the D.C. area, the Maryland area, somewhere around there, Baltimore. And he's going to Minnesota, and Minnesota got Marcus Major from Oklahoma. They already had Newbin on the roster. They got 4 or 5 running backs. Mangum just jumped in the portal from Michigan State and went to Minnesota as well. They got 5 running backs. I don't know what the hell the running backs are doing, bro. But you got to give them a 10. They got 5 guys. All 5 can play. And they're better than any. That's not hyperbole. They're better than any running back room you're going to find. They got NFL running backs all on the same team. They all can't get the ball. They're wasting their career on the bench. But I'm not mad at Minnesota. It's your job. Get the best players you can get. But how did you convince all these guys to come to your school? It's fucking wild. Minnesota's got a running back room you'll never see. You'll never see a running back room like that. I don't understand it. That's why I don't think the offense is going to be all that productive, because you can't play them all. I gave him a 10, but you can't play them all. Darius Taylor's the starting running back. He's an absolute monster. Say Bangura, absolute monster. Keep going. They're all absolute monsters. All of them. It's fucking nuts. Wide receiver room, improved. I like it. It's improved, and they're going to utilize the wide receivers. They have good passing acumen, at least early in the season. As it gets later, you can't throw in the snow. We'll find out. Brosmer can actually throw. He played up in did he play at New Hampshire? Played up north, right? New Hampshire? Where'd Brosmer play? Am I tripping? No, I'm right. I'm right. Dude, I'm RicoKnows. Before we get to the top 40, in the weekly's top 40, Rick D's in the weekly top 40. That's what I grew up with. Let me jump back to the chat. Let's see what we got going on. FAMU, what do you think of Dillingham cost FSU? Got it. Just wasn't ready for offense coordinator. What do you think of linebacker John Chaney Jr. from FAU? Is he good impact for Colorado? So John Chaney Jr. from FAMU, Florida A&M. I don't think he's very good impact for Colorado. I think people need to understand, like, how good are you at the HBCU level? Can anybody tell me how many HBCU guys have been drafted in the NFL in the last 2 years? I've seen the very best HBCU linebackers transfer to the Power 4 level. Like last year, Jacob Roberts transferred out of North Carolina A&T, went to Wake Forest, was one of the team leaders in sacks, tackles, everything, still didn't get drafted. HBCU linebackers are not NFL caliber linebackers. That's a fact. The UFL draft just happened 2 days ago. I just posted all about it. The UFL draft just happened. Not an HBCU player was drafted in the UFL. So not in the NFL, not in the UFL. What gives? They're not NFL caliber. They're not professional caliber players. If you're backfilling your roster with HBCU players, you are backfilling your roster with non-NFL caliber players. And there's other teams getting NFL caliber players. There's other teams getting star players. Let me give you guys an example. My bad, that was San Jose State, Rocky says. I just reviewed San Jose State. And San Jose State signed these two corners, twins, out of San Diego. Okay? They signed them out of San Diego, the Toreros, an FCS school, San Diego. They're better than an HBCU. And they're going to San Jose. And they're going to be second string, rotational guys, dime, nickel package guys. When you're getting players from HBCUs to sign at the FBS level, you are not getting NFL caliber players. You're not getting FBS level players. They're the bottom of the barrel in the FCS. There's the FCS elite, the playoff teams, the middle of the FCS, and then there's the bottom of the barrel, the SWAC. Those guys are not good. Don't ever confuse Shedeur Sanders, Shiloh Sanders, Travis Hunter. Those are not FCS players. Those are not HBCU players. They should have never been at the HBCUs. They were not HBCU caliber. That's why when they got there, they won every game, except for the Celebration Bowls. They're not that caliber. And people misunderstand it. They're like, oh, no, look at all the players that came from there. No, all those players, Kevin Coleman and all those guys, they had no business down there. They were there for Coach Prime. You cannot go to FAMU and get a bunch of players you think are going to make an impact at the FBS level. It's not happening. Musa, the starting quarterback at FAMU last year, helping them win all their games, he couldn't get on the field at Vanderbilt. He was at Vanderbilt before that. Like, I know all the players. Sometimes I add them to my NFL draft board as like my deep hidden gems. But after Isaiah Land didn't get drafted 2 years ago, no FAMU linebackers getting drafted. So I don't think it's a good pickup. When you see Colorado pick up FAMU players, it's because they have a pipeline, right? It's because they have a pipeline to those players. You just got the player personnel to be your new head recruiter, and all he's doing is going to get kids from Florida that were being recruited by FAMU. I just don't think they're even FBS caliber. Like, they signed 3 kids out of high school late in the cycle. I think they're going to be in the transfer portal next year. I don't think they're FBS caliber. 3 of them. Yeah, 3 of the late signings, Colorado recruits. I watched their tape, and I went, well, I didn't even make a video on it. I went and watched the huddle film and went, oh, this is what they're doing? Rispris is signing guys. Rispris is signing the leftovers from his FAMU days. Like, while he was at FAMU, he was recruiting these guys. They're FAMU caliber. But now he got to Colorado, and he's like, oh, yeah, I know that kid. I was recruiting him at FAMU. It's not the kid you take to Colorado. You better find new people. You better figure it the fuck out. Ain't those kids. You got to get a higher caliber athlete. And I think they messed up. They signed a couple. But who cares? You got to feel like you're 85. Go get them. And then you don't renew their scholarship next year. They did that with Coffee Brooks, right? The linebacker, Coffee Brooks, he had to leave. He's now at UTEP. You sign him out of England. They're going to miss. Recruiting misses happen. I don't think that they should sign players like Chaney. Chaney shouldn't see the field. If Chaney showed up from FAMU and he sees the field at your school, at Colorado in the Power 4, you're having a bad year, bro. Debo was great in Syracuse, man. He was. I wish for Byron Brown, but I like Cromanhoke, Trammell Jones, and I really like Brock Glenn, but USF is killing it. Shout out to Rocky. He's talking about Florida State quarterbacks. I want you guys to know, Cromanhoke, for me personally, I watched him play his entire high school career out of Benedict here in Georgia. I don't think he's 5 stars. I don't think he's that good. There's a 3-star kid right now in the state that I think is better, and he's committed to Miami. He plays at Milton. I think he's better. And they tell me he's 3 stars and he's not up there. But I watch him every single Friday, and I'm like, oh, no, he's better. He's better. Yeah, I'm not sold on Kromenhoek. They just moved him up to 5 stars because he's a Florida State commit. That's what I think. I don't think he played any better. I watched him play his whole career. He never once moved me like that. I watched a lot of tape on him. I think he has burst, but he's a group guy, not supposed to be at Colorado. I mean, I'm not Rico. I'm not good. But there you go. Rocky, you're good enough. Rocky, you're good enough. I didn't know you wrote that, bro. That's exactly how it looks. I'm not sure about USC's defense no matter what's coming out of LA. No, they're improved. Linton is the new defensive coordinator coming over from UCLA. They're improved. He's got the right people in the right places. They just got the leading tackler from Oregon State to transfer in. Keeley is the new linebacker that just came in. They got a new safety that just came in. They're improved. You guys got to know this. They got guys who actually are blue collar and make tackles. When you go get the leading tackler from another Power 5 team, you got Oregon State's leading tackler to come to your linebacker room. You didn't look at Colorado linebackers. They went and got the leading tackler from Charlotte. They went and got a backup brother, Wester, from FAU, and then they got a kid from FAMU. Compare all that to a team like USC, who went on and got the leading tackler from another Power 5 team. That's what USC did at linebacker. And the year before, they got Mason Cobb. They got an all-conference linebacker and leading tackler from Oregon State. So when you're trying to compare teams and position groups, which is what I do for a living, you got to know where these players are coming from and their caliber and their talent and who's actually done it on Saturdays. And you got one team scraping the barrel to find players. You got Colorado bragging about how they improved their offensive line. And you're like, well, where'd they get the players from? Indiana, UTEP, Houston. All these teams fired their coaches. You got players from UConn. You got players from losing programs, and they're not the best players from those teams. I've said this in other videos. They are the second to third best offensive linemen from their old team. And then you put them all together, and they're magically supposed to be comparable to what? There's some elite offensive lines who've been starting for 4 years in a row, 3 years in a row. Every offensive lineman on Oklahoma State is coming back. Every single one of them. Not a player at Indiana, UTEP, UConn, Houston. Nobody could even start at Oklahoma State. It's such a gap. It's such a gap in talent. And when you watch it on film, instead of watching well-off videos and watching workout videos of these guys lifting weights and cheering each other on, instead of watching that shit, go watch them compete on a Saturday against the opposition, against people just as good as them, if not better. Go watch them compete against other people on a Saturday, and you'll be like, oh, that's that dude talking shit at practice? That's that dude bucking up on everybody? He just got pancaked. He just got snatched. He got 3 false start penalties in the first half. Who is this guy? That's what you guys don't understand. That's why I watch film. I don't listen to none of the recruiting websites. I don't listen to anything on Twitter. I do my own research, my own data, my own charts. I am doing it in a vacuum without any influence. And then if I ever see it match what somebody's saying in public, then I know we're really onto something. But what you'll never see me do, look, having a sports take isn't unique. I could have a sports take, you can have a sports take, and they can be the same. Right? But what you'll never hear from me is your take after you said it. Listen to what I'm saying. I will tell you, for example, that Auburn is not going to be as good as you guys think they are. Josh Pate said they might win 9 games. People are ranking them in their top 25. People are telling me Auburn's going to be good. And I will tell you Auburn's not going to be good. And there might be somebody in this world who tells you Auburn's not going to be good, but they'll never say it before me. Because I didn't steal that take from anybody. If you find anybody with my point of view or my reference or like anything, they had to have said it after me. 100% of the time. Remember that. Only one of us is authentic with their content creation. Only one of us is actually creating content. Everybody else is regurgitating sports takes back and forth from each other. They'll hear it over here. They'll repeat it over here. They'll say it in a different way over here. Only one of us is sitting down and actually creating it. That's why I have my platform. That's why I have my MVPs. Because if I gave my picks and they were equal to somebody else's, you would go somewhere else. Watch my UFC content. Watch me break down a fight. Watch me break down a fight on the UFC. And then go look on the internet for that same fight and predictions from other cappers. It's not the same, bro. Nope. We're not talking about the same shit. We're not seeing the same things. And one of us is more accurate than the other. And that's the way I do football. Shout out to you. Shout out to you. I believe in USC. Win and watch the tape. Believe in them to some extent. West Virginia running backs like CJ, but have you watched Judah Price? Have not watched Judah Price, Rocky, but CJ's not the guy, bro. Come on now. West Virginia's got Jaheim White. He will be the starting running back. CJ's going to punch it in. CJ Donaldson, by the way, a great running back. I'll talk about it when I get to West Virginia on the chart here. You notice we haven't got to them yet. West Virginia's great on offense, and their running back room is loaded. And they have some other running backs that are worth talking about. I just talked about one just the other day. Jabron Fuller. You guys see Jabron Fuller there? His name's green. You know why? You know why he's got a badge and he's green? Because he's a member on the channel. Thank you so much for being a member on the channel, Jabron Fuller. That's an MVP. If your name is green and you're in the chat, you get priority to everyone else. Thank you so much for supporting the channel and believing in me. It's another football season coming. You guys know the deal. I'm not up late, man. I'm always up this late. I was going to bed, but the content's so good, I stayed up. Stay up, Ross. This is what we do, Rocky. Hey, you can go to bed, bro. You can watch it tomorrow. It ain't going nowhere. It ain't going nowhere. Ishmael was another ladder last season. Ishmael Mahdi was another ladder last season. Thank you so much. It's midnight Saturday here on Eastern Time. It is. But I am still up waiting for number one. Shout out to Carla Jenkins. Thank you for supporting the channel and being here. How perfect was it that I brought them back up? I remember those kids. They're going to get a free piece of paper and have a lot of fun. There you go. Roll Tide wrote. Next break, Ja'Kai Douglas. Shout out to Ja'Kai Douglas. New wide receiver that's supposed to be the impact wide receiver for Florida State. We'll see what happens. Let's get back to the chart. I want to wrap this up. I know you guys are trying to go to bed. I'm not worried about it, man. I could talk all night. I'm here. Next is Kentucky. Love Kentucky's offense. I love Brock Vandergriff. I'm sorry. Yes, Brock Vandergriff. Am I saying it right? BVG? Brock Vandergriff. I watched him play in high school at Prince Avenue Christian. Went one state, played for his dad, had a bunch of great players on the team. I love everything he does. You guys are going to see him for the first time. Don't get it twisted. He's a dual threat quarterback. He's been on the bench. Obviously, he and Gunnar Stockton were battling it out to back up a quarterback that's kind of decent at Georgia. Kind of. But anyways, he never got to play, and now he's at Kentucky, and I think he's going to impress you guys. It's not hard to be great. It's not hard to be great when you got Berrien Brown and a guy named Dane Key. Oh, these wide receivers are real. And when I was reviewing teams, when I got to Kentucky, I need to tell you guys how significant it was that Kentucky had a better offensive line than a lot of other teams. So that's why they have an 8 there. They were the first one in a while as I was reviewing offensive linemen, and I was like, oh, this is a good unit. And that's crazy because 2 years ago, they couldn't keep Will Levis off his back. And last year, they tried to tell me the offensive line wasn't good because that's why they had a drop off at quarterback and all this. And I told you guys, go watch my preseason videos. I was talking about all the best transfers. And I told you, Kentucky's got the wrong guy at quarterback. They did the wrong. Devin Leary is not as good as they think he is. I don't give a shit what he did at NC State or anywhere else. They're not going to be good, and nobody listened to me. He had star wide receivers and still not getting Berrien Brown the ball. Berrien Brown's an NFL wide receiver. NFL, get him the rock. Please get him the damn rock. Yes, they're going to miss Ray at running back. They're gonna have a drop off at running back. They have some terrible running backs. You get a transfer coming in from Ohio State. a dude who played linebacker, running back, everything else. You get another transfer from, I think, NC State. I'm just not impressed with the running back room at Kentucky. Yeah, they got the hyphenated kid from last year, Sumo from last year. And then there's Colorado at 38. You see it there. I have Shedeur Sanders. Gave him a 9. I think he's pretty good. You don't get a 10. I don't think he's a dual threat. And I think that he doesn't process things very fast. And what I'm referring to is he doesn't do choice routes. He holds the ball and gets sacked. And if you didn't know, some of his sacks are running out of bounds. In college football, if you run out of bounds behind the line of scrimmage, that's a sack. In college football, they give credit to the nearest defender when you run out of bounds if the ball's still in your hands. Why not just throw the ball away? Oh, it'll lower your completion percentage? Throw the ball away, bro. Throw the ball away and live another day. Don't lose 3 yards and run out of bounds with it. But I call him duck butt. Duck butt won't do that. So I got a problem with Colorado, and the problem is offensive coordinator. The problem is play scheme, not the talent on the field. I think their running back room is fine. It's okay. I gave it a 5. They're okay. Very comparable to any other FBS running back room. If you think I'm giving it too low of a score, then you don't understand my scoring system, because Florida State also got a 5. It's 2 backup running backs that are playing now starting running back. Florida State has 2 backup running backs that are now playing running back. And they got Jalen Lucas from Indiana. Come on, bro. You went and got a skill player from Indiana. Cool. Those are backup running backs, and when they're starting at the FBS level, I'm underwhelmed by it. I give it a 5. Colorado's got the same thing. Backup running backs who are now your starters. I'm really encouraged by Augustive's tape. Isaiah Augustave, transfer from Arkansas. His tape looks great. He's not the starter, though. Right? They got Hayden coming in from Ohio State, and he's probably good enough to play for you, but it's still a 5. 6s are 1,000-yard rushers. So he might get 400 or 500 yards. We'll see. We'll see what it is. Wide receiver room at Colorado, pretty damn good. Gave it an 8. Still, you got your best wide receivers coming over from FAU, Vandy. You're getting it from all the scrub teams. Get me an all-conference guy from a Power 4 conference. Because that's what USC got last year when Dorian Singer came over. That's what some of these teams are getting in the transfer portal. You see Isaiah Bond go from Alabama to Texas. That's a different caliber of athlete, different caliber of wide receiver. And I think that Colorado, although they got good players, they got good wide receivers, I like them. It's an 8. It's very comparable. The Texas Tech room, let me tell you that. You see Texas Tech below them at 8? Look at this. I can tell you this right now off rip. Texas Tech got a 5-star wide receiver, and he's 3rd string. I talked about it earlier. If a 5-star wide receiver went to Colorado, he'd be in the starting lineup. That's the lack of depth Colorado has. They do have players. I think the wide receiver room is the strength of their offense with their quarterback, but it's not comparable to some of these other wide receiver rooms. There are entire wide receiver rooms at other schools that I think the entire room is better than Colorado's entire room. Like, I don't think a single Colorado wide receiver could start at Miami. Nope, I don't. Not Miami. I don't know if they could start at Oklahoma. I don't think it's start at Georgia. Those ones stick out to me right away. Ohio State. And I love little LeJounte West. I love him. Love that little dude. I made a video about him. I'm just telling you. They couldn't transfer to those schools and start. I don't know if they could start at Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech's wide receiver room is great. But they're still good. 8's pretty damn good. So they're there. We'll see what happens. They got an 80 score, 38th in the country. I think their biggest issue is coordinators, head coach, and the caliber of their defense. I'll just say the caliber of their defense. But really, it's coordinators. You've got 2 NFL-style coordinators who don't. NFL-style coordinators don't typically excel or succeed at the collegiate level. You have to make the players extensions of yourself, and it doesn't really work out that way. Okay? Players just are thinking too much and not reacting enough. The hash marks are wider in college, giving you a wider side of the field when the ball's on one hash versus the other. And that gives you an advantage in college for certain schemes. And some teams take advantage of that really well. Shout out to South Florida. Shout out to Tennessee. And then some teams don't take advantage of that, and that's Colorado. I know I'm talking about something nobody's even thinking about, but I'm being serious. You got to watch film. North Carolina found Omarion Hampton last year. Congratulations. He's a stud running back. Got good wide receivers, especially Nate McCollum coming back. I think he can help you and do some great things. Their quarterback play is going to be, Max does not move me. Max Johnson, hopefully they play the other kid. Harrell. They did get, what's his name, back in the transfer portal from Arkansas. He came back after being there for 3 years, 2 years, whatever it is. I think North Carolina is going to be a problem. They'll be on 1 week, off 1 week. Speaking of on and off 1 week, Michigan State better figure it out. Michigan State brought in some players. Love their tight end. Jack Valen coming in from Oregon State. Offensive line looks solid. Quarterback, man, I believe in Aiden Childs. Gave him a 7. I think he's got a decent ceiling. Hopefully he gets better. They got a decent running back room. They're there. App State, one of the very best group of 5 teams, if not the best in America. They're the number 1 team I've been talking about. Joey Aguilar in his senior season went ahead and gave him an 8. Good wide receivers, all returning from last year. Kanye. Go watch the tape on Kanye Roberts, the running back for App State. He's special again. Good tight end. Solid offensive line. I like App State. Cal seems to score on everybody. They better figure it out. They have an elite running back room. Jadenot still there at running back. They got a bunch of quarterbacks. I don't know which one's going to start. They better figure that shit out. But they do have good tight ends. 2 of them. 2 good tight ends. And I was really surprised to see some of their transfers. But all in all, not bad. They did get FCS level linemen, but they're like all conference linemen, so I hope they can play. The Montana State kids for sure. We'll see what happens with Cal. Florida State's right here on offense. Don't believe in DJ Uiagalelei all that much. 2 backup running backs at running back, and then the wide receivers are a huge drop-off from last year. Having NFL-caliber wide receivers, it's very different. I don't like the wide receiver room at Florida State. Bringing in a scrub from Alabama who couldn't get in the starting lineup, a former JUCO guy that everybody tried to convince him was going to be great. Go watch the videos. I told you he wasn't going to be great. I told you he's not better than anybody at Alabama, and I was right. He finished the season with less than 20 receptions. It's a damn shame when I got to drag a kid to be right. But I love being accurate, especially for my gamblers. So I was right again, and now Florida State goes and picks him up, and I'm not too sold on that. Florida State's offensive line is stout. Stout offensive line. Look good on tape. Penn State, don't believe in Drew Aller, but he's a 7. Don't believe in him. Penn State's running back room should probably be a 10, but I gave it a 9 just because of the lack of production or the drop-off in production, and because the offensive coordinator is just not that great. Okay, another thing, Penn State's wide receiver room. They lost everybody. They lost the wide receivers. Their 2 leading wide receivers. What star quarterback you know is losing its 2 wide receivers? What star quarterback you know is losing its leading wide receivers? Penn State's only one. Penn State tight end, great tight end. Offensive line's okay. This will be the most anemic offensive line I've seen in a while. We'll see what happens there. Then we get to A&M. I don't believe in the quarterback play there. Running back room is stacked. Love all 3 of the running backs. Love all 3. I think they have 2 NFL players in there as well. And then wide receiver room's not bad. Tight end's not bad. Offensive line, there you go. Auburn, quarterback. If Peyton Thorne's going to play great, then more power to him. More power to him. I like Hunter at running back. Congratulations, he is there. And he is pretty damn good. He's welcome back. All the tight end or the wide receivers are pretty solid. Pretty solid wide receivers. They did lose some in the transfer portal. Jay Fair took off, but they got some ridiculous freshmen. Another 5-star, but he's actually in the rotation. Rivaldo Fairweather's still there at tight end. Going to be back. Offensive line is good. They kept the the Tulsa transfers even after they fired the offensive coordinator. Even after Montgomery gets fired, they kept the kids who showed up with him. Florida. When you watch Florida on tape, guys, Florida's good. I don't know if they're going to win a lot of games. They're not going to win a lot of games. But when you watch them on tape, they have players that are good. I don't know how to explain it to you guys. Like talent-wise, if we had tryouts tomorrow, the Florida kids are not getting beat out. Like, I gave the Florida wide receiver room an 8. Do you understand Florida's wide receivers? Trey Wilson, Eugene Wilson III, Trey Wilson. He's so good. He's so good. And then you just got Elijah just came in. Badger from Arizona State, the leading receiver from another team. Like I told you guys, get the leading receiver from another team. They did that. And their quarterback played lights out, and I still gave him Graham Mertz. I think he threw only 2 interceptions or something crazy. He played lights out, 70% completion percentage. And I don't think highly of him. His tape looks terrible to me. And he's playing great. Florida's good, man, and I don't like them. And there they are. Notre Dame, very underwhelmed by Notre Dame. Riley Leonard could change all this if he plays at the 10 level. Riley Leonard is an NFL caliber quarterback if he plays at the 10 level. If he does not, here he is. The backup's actually pretty solid. We saw him play well in the bowl game. Granted, it was a terrible bowl team that they were playing against. Running back room, all young guys. Young, Love. I think Payne's out for the year. What is it? Love, Payne, and one more. Drawing a blank. Last names. Doesn't matter. Point is they got a running back by committee. Got to replace a legend. Figure it the hell out. Wide receiver room, Jaden Greathouse is great. Picking up the kid from FIU doesn't move me. I think their wide receiver room is really bad. 6 is not where Notre Dame should be if they want to be competitive. Offensive line, you got a redshirt freshman trying to fill in for Alt at left tackle. Good luck. SMU, like SMU a lot. Like SMU a lot. RJ Maryland is who you guys need to see at SMU. Their wide receiver room is stacked. There are 6 wide receivers at SMU that are great. And SMU's tight end, RJ Maryland, that's Russell Maryland's son. NFL. Shout out to SMU. Don't like their running back room. Rooster doesn't get it done, doesn't move the chains. Arkansas's offense, sneaky good. Nobody knows. Everybody's shitting on Arkansas. Thinks they're terrible. Arkansas's not terrible. The offensive players can play. I'm letting you know now. Arkansas's got a quarterback, just came in from Boise State. Got a running back, just came in from Utah. They got terrible wide receivers. Great tight end, young tight end. Actually, the tight end's so good that Varkey's Gums couldn't start, and he had to back up. What's his name, bro? What's wrong with me? He's a sophomore. I know his name. I don't want to say it wrong. What's his damn name? Has. That's what it is. It's the Z name, the H-A-S-Z. Luke Has. I think I called him Lucas. Has is so good. Varkey's Gums had to back him up. That's crazy because Varkey's Gums was a stud out of North Texas. I bet Varkey's Gums regrets transferring. So I like Arkansas there. Now we're at the top 25. Iowa State, top 25 offense. Love Iowa State. Let me just say this right now. Iowa State, Rocco Becht at quarterback. Good. I don't like the running back in some. I don't care if you ran for almost 300 yards in the snow. I don't care. I don't like them. All the wide receivers returned from last year, and they picked up Eli Green from North Dakota State in the transfer portal. Good tight end. Another young tight end as well, and an offensive line that returns 4 starters. It's a good team. Iowa State's good, and their defense is returning even more production. I think Iowa State's sneaky good. There's Michigan. I don't believe in Michigan's quarterback. I love their running back room, but there's only one running back I believe in. Wide receiver room looks like it's depleted a little bit. Tight ends are amazing. Offensive line's legit. So there's Michigan at 24 on offense. Their defense will be exceptional. Clemson. Don't believe in their quarterback. Shout out to Cade Klubnik. Running back Phil Maffa better do his damn thing. Wide receivers leave a lot to be desired. They did get a 5-star kid. He's working his way into the starting lineup. Tight end's good. Offensive line's good. South Carolina, you better start believing in the goggles right now. I'm telling you right now, Lenora Sellers is so good at South Carolina. Believe in the goggles. South Carolina, whoever's telling you they're only going to win 3 games or 4 games, they don't know, bro. They don't know. Oscar Attaway transferred in with a bunch of other guys in the running back room. They also got the South Carolina State kid, Harold. Is it Howell? And then went and watched his tape. He looks solid. And then they got wide receivers galore. Jaden Brown came in from Coastal Carolina. What's his face came from Miami of Ohio. My favorite guy. How am I forgetting my favorite player's name? Southeast Louisiana to Miami of Ohio. Gage Larvadane. He's an amazing basketball player, kickoff returner, and doing. Guys, I got a million names up here. I got to memorize. Look at this. I've been talking about 100 teams, bro. I've already talked about 100 teams. It's hard for me to remember every single player on every single team. But I got you. I'm RicoKnows. My God, Gage Larvadane is great. Then they got Huggins coming in. Huggins Bruce from Louisville. That wide receiver room is stacked. Tight ends. They got the kid from Western Kentucky. He transferred in 2 years ago. Believe his last name is Simon. 7 touchdowns back in 2022. He can play. Offensive line looks improved. They need an offensive line. But all in all, pretty damn solid team for South Carolina at 22. Oklahoma's at 21. I love everything about Oklahoma. Quarterback's legit. I know. If you saw him in the bowl game, he was out there doing what he does. But me, for my worth, Arnold was my number 1 5-star quarterback coming out last year. I told everybody that before the season. He's the best 5-star quarterback out of everybody. Go back and watch the film. Go back and watch the podcast from last year. They're here on YouTube. You go to YouTube, click on the live tab. You can go back and watch all the old shows. I'm letting you know that right now. Jackson Arnold, him, bro, stud. Shout out to Denton Guyer High School. Then you have running backs. Oklahoma's got them. I don't even need to talk about it. 2 of them. Let me tell you how good the running back room is at Oklahoma. 2 of their guys transferred. Marcus Major went to Minnesota, and Tawee Walker went to Wisconsin. And they had no idea how good Tawee Walker is. He's probably going to end up being the starting running back. if Chez can't stay healthy, Tawee Walker's in that rotation. Tawee Walker's going to be on the field. And they had no idea because he was like 4th or 5th string. That's how good Oklahoma's running back room is. Their guys that are leaving that room can go start somewhere else. It's fucking awesome, man. I really like them. Their wide receiver room at Oklahoma, you'll be hard pressed to beat them, bro. Now they're not all healthy right now. I believe there's a foot issue going on with one of them. But man, if you turn on the tape, and you look at Oklahoma wide receivers, and when you go and look at and it's Nick, right? Nick is the breakout star from last year, and you might be like, yo, Rico, you have no clue like how good Deion Burks is. Yeah, I do. He's so good that everybody forgot about Nick Anderson. Nick Anderson last year, as a freshman, redshirt freshman, balled out of control. I apologize for the noise. Ash is eating her food right next to me. Late night snack for the princess, my puppy, my pit bull. But I'm telling you, Nick Anderson is a beast. Deion Burks is the star wide receiver, the only NFL wide receiver at Purdue last year. And he just transferred to Oklahoma. Baller. I think he got arrested for DUI, though. Not good. Shout out to Purdue. Hopefully Jamal Adrian's healthy this year, and he can be their star wide receiver this year. Former FAU wide receiver transferred there. He got hurt, so the guy that had to carry the load for everybody was Deion Burks. But when you watch Purdue football last year, the only guy that was worth watching, Hudson Card to Deion Burks. And now he's here. And then they have Andrew Anthony, the transfer from Michigan, if he's healthy. Oklahoma's wide receiver room's loaded. Shout out to Oklahoma. Tight end, anemic, offensive line. I'm not that impressed with their offensive line. I saw a transfer come in from North Texas. When I watched him at North Texas, I was not impressed by it, and he's now starting there. I know they got another transfer from, is it Houston? SMU? No, it was Missouri. Doesn't matter. Oklahoma's good. UCF, KJ Jefferson, star running backs. They got 2 running backs that are great. Shout out to Harvey. Stop underrating Harvey. Turn on the tape. UCF has one of the best running backs in America. That's why they have a 10. And they have Peyton Boone backing them up. 1-2 punch you don't want to mess with. Wide receiver room, very good. 2 studs. Xavier Townsend. Go turn on the tape on these wide receivers at UCF. They got 2 of them you can't mess with. Tight end, doesn't really move me on the tape that much. Offensive line's okay. Kansas at 19. Kansas, they got depth like old school Alabama is what I said. They got so much depth, it's crazy. They got a star quarterback. If he can stay healthy, Jalen Daniels can stay healthy, they will win a lot of games. They do need help on the offensive line. Running back, one of the best in America, Devin Nill. And they have a good backup in Henshaw. He's actually pretty solid. All the Kansas receivers move me, bro. They move me, bro. I like the Kansas wide receivers a lot. I've always been a Grimm guy, a Luke Grimm guy, a former 2-star out of Missouri, I believe, in high school. And now he's a stud. Been there for many years. I made a video about him maybe 2 years ago on TikTok, and I'm still stuck on him. Shout out to Kansas. By the way, Kansas defense, bee's knees, bro. Bee's knees. There's Utah on offense. Cam Rising coming back. I'm giving it a 9. I'm hoping he's healthy. Running back room took a big hit when they lost Woods for the year, but they still got some players. Michael Bernard is back for another year. Hopefully he's the starting running back and not playing corner. If you didn't know, JSN got 300 yards on his ass when he played corner in that Rose Bowl game. Everybody thought JSN was killing it. No, he was going up against a backup running back who had to move to corner for the week, and he beat the shit out of him in the bowl game. Congratulations. Utah wide receivers. Everybody's convinced they're great because they got Dorian Singer in the transfer portal from USC. But if I learn anything, it's Dorian Singer is a 5th string wide receiver at USC. Yes, he's a starter at Utah. Apples and oranges, right? Utah doesn't have great wide receivers. Michael Pittman is there. They just lost an NFL caliber wide receiver in the draft, and they just lost Mikey Matthews to the transfer portal. Your backfill, not equivalent. I feel like they got worse in the wide receiver room. Tight ends, if they got Kuthi back, they're great. Kuthi at tight end, he was a stud, led the team in receiving, I think 2 or 3 years ago, and he's finally healthy, supposedly. So he and Cam Rising being healthy should have a great impact on their offense, at least moving the chains. First downs lead to touchdowns. Give your defense a rest and don't get blown out the way they were. Offensive line's okay. Next team, is LSU. LSU, if you believe in the Nuss bus, go for it. Running back room looks a little dry. Wide receivers, to me, LSU wide receivers, everything I've seen of them, they drop everything. LSU wide receivers got butterfingers everywhere. Their top 3 wide receivers drop the ball every chance they get. I don't like them at all. Tight end is great. Tight end is him. Shout out to Taylor. He looks amazing. I hate every top tight end list doesn't have Taylor on it. LSU has one of the best tight ends in America. They do have one of the very best offensive lines. I only have it at a 9. They have two of the best offensive tackles, right? Whatever. But they're missing some other pieces, but it's a 9. It's very good. There's Virginia Tech at 16. Love Kyron Dromes. Love Byshal Tutton. Love wide receivers, Ali Jennings, former leading receiver out of ODU. They have Jalen Lane, former leading receiver out of Middle Tennessee State. And they have another wide receiver that came from the FCS. They got a loaded team, Virginia Tech, and they're led by their defense. Shout out to Saxburg. Not Blacksburg, Saxburg. I think they're going to get a ton of sacks, and they're going to be dominant on defense and offense. Offensive line got a 9 because they returned everybody. Georgia Tech, speaking of returning everybody, Haynes King is the man, one of the best dual-threat quarterbacks in America. People don't pay attention, don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Go watch Haynes King. He's great. Running back room, good. Not great, but good. Okay, no NFL real, that doesn't move me like that. Jamal Haynes, former slot receiver, watched him play in high school, moved over from Grayson, moved over to running back. He is good, but he's just not, 1,200-yard good. He's not first, second, third, fourth round caliber good, but he's good. That wide receiver room at Georgia Tech is the bee's knees, bro. The wide receiver room at Georgia Tech, statistically, probably not off the charts. Talent-wise, watching the tape, those are good players. They could start over a ton of other teams. Tight end, okay. Offensive line, very good. Shout out to Georgia Tech. They should put up some points. Tennessee, I'm not moved by Tennessee's quarterback, Nico. I give him a 7. It's not terrible. It's a 7. It's very comparable to Kyron Drones or Nussmeier. It's good. It's just not, it's not terrible. It's not great. It's right there. He's got to earn that 8, 9, and 10. 10 first-round picks. 10 superstars who throw for 3,000 yards. I need to see something like that in multiple years before he moves up any higher, but 7's pretty good. Running back room. Losing a great running back in Jalen Wright. Good luck backfilling it with what you have. I don't think it's terrible. Wide receivers. Very good wide receivers at Tennessee. Just like any other room with 8. Whenever you see an 8, those are good wide receiver rooms. Tennessee's got a good wide receiver room. Some people might think they're higher. Chris Brazzell coming in from Tulane. Who's the guy who just was injured last year? The transfer from Mater Dei, Texas and USC. He's a slot. He's a possession wide receiver. I apologize. I know his name. It's going to be embarrassing when I see it. Brew McCoy. Brew McCoy, Bryce Young's target in high school. Brew McCoy was great at Mater Dei, and he's okay at Tennessee. He's a possession wide receiver. He doesn't move me like that. I don't get too excited about him. Yeah, he'll get 50 receptions because he's always going to get open. But Squirrel White's the guy. You got to believe in Squirrel White. He's the playmaker in that wide receiver room. And the offensive line is very good out of Tennessee. Very good out of Tennessee. Oklahoma State, you want to talk about a good offensive line. Oklahoma State, bringing back everybody, bro. Their quarterback, you can say what you want about quarterback at Oklahoma State. He threw for over 3,000 yards, though. He takes care of the ball. He'll be all right. Wide receivers. Why does Brendan Presley get no love, bro? Presley brothers are the truth. Dominated for years, never lost a game in high school. Shout out to Bixby, winning all these state titles. Give me some Presley brothers. His brother's over at Tulsa right now, backup slot receiver, but still, I'm cool with it. Shout out to Braylon. But Oklahoma State's got players. Obviously, Ollie Gordon, one of the best running backs in the country, if not the best running back in the country. Backup running back is Trent Howland, just transferred in from Indiana. He's 6'3", 240, bro. Come on. Love that running back room. And all the offensive linemen are back. By the way, Oklahoma State's defense, best linebacker room in the Big 12. I just talked about it on Twitter. There's nobody close. Go watch the tape. Nick Martin. Woo-hoo. Nick Martin, bro. I'll turn on that tape. Nick Martin is everywhere. Oklahoma State, loaded. Memphis, I have them at 12. Nobody's going to have Memphis at 12 but me. I believe in Memphis. I've told you about them. You saw a video from me talking about them last year. Nothing's changed, bro. They brought everybody back and got even better. Okay? They lost Blake Watson, went to the NFL, went to the UFL. Cool. They replaced him with Mario Anderson Jr. Mario Anderson Jr., former Newberry Division II All-American, just led South Carolina in rushing last year in the SEC. He's now at Memphis. They also have Sutton Smith, played at Walton High School here in Georgia. Superstar, speedster, little scat back. I'm telling you, Memphis got Seth Hennigan at quarterback. He's good for 3,000 yards every single season. Absolute monster. Rock Taylor at wide receiver. Demir Blumpkin-C. Jair Shorter just transferred in from Auburn, former North Texas deep threat. That guy gets 30 yards a catch. Go look it up. That team is amazing. They got a good tight end, great offensive line for the group of 5. I like Memphis a lot. There's NC State. They're going to be loaded. NC State's got all the pieces to be great. Trust me, they do. Go look up Justin Jolly. They got him at wide receiver, but he's a tight end. Justin Jolly's there. Their offensive line is stacked. West Virginia at 10. I'm the only guy in the world that has West Virginia at 10. I promise you. I love Garrett Green at quarterback. Best dual threat guy out there. Go look at his rushing touchdowns. You're going to see like national leading running backs with as many touchdowns as him. He's up there, dude. He's the truth. West Virginia punches it in. Jaheim White, true freshman last year. Or is he a redshirt freshman? He was a freshman, and he just came onto the scene when nobody was looking, bro. And Donaldson was getting all the touchdowns early. White, towards the end of the last 6 games or so, White shocked the world and started getting all the reps. And I think it's this year, Jaheim White's going to be the guy that everybody talks about. I really do. I'm double checking. Oh, he's a true freshman. Jaheim White, NFL caliber running back. They're doing great things over there. Shout out to CJ Donaldson, the other running back who's actually very good. Converted tight end, by the way. Donaldson is. Okay. Wide receiver room for them. Hudson Clement earned a scholarship. He was a former walk-on. He's out of West Virginia, born and raised type kid. Jaden Bray just transferred in from Oklahoma State, one of the leading receivers. But go watch film on Traylon Ray. Traylon Ray, Traylon Ray, Traylon Ray. I've said it 3 times. Don't you ever forget it. West Virginia wide receiver Traylon Ray is the guy who pops on tape for me. Tight end Cole just transferred in from LSU. Ain't no big deal. They got an LSU tight end because Taylor was over there doing his thing. Mason Taylor was a beast, so some people had to leave. Cole Taylor's here, and he's great. West Virginia's got a good offensive line. Alabama at 9. Quarterback play. I like Jalen Milroe. I think he's a good quarterback. I'll give him a 9. Same score as Shador Sanders. Running back. Got a good running back room. No real superstar, but 3 quality running backs. Wide receivers. Trust Jeremy Bernard can play football, and they got other wide receivers. I like that wide receiver room at Alabama. I talked about Jeremy Bernard so many times. Jeremy Bernard being at Michigan State, being at Washington, 4th string at both schools because they had professional wide receivers in front of him. Now it's his time to shine. He's ready to be a starter. He's ready to carry the load. I believe in Jeremy Bernard. Tight end's going to be a struggle. Offensive line is stout at Alabama, like always. Ohio State, don't like the quarterback play, but good luck with it. Will Howard, he's a 7. Running back room is absolutely loaded. Wide receivers, I give them a 9, and it's not their fault. I just don't think the quarterback will take advantage of their skill set. So I gave them a 9 because you're going to get a 9 production out of them. You're not going to get these 10s. Like these 10s, you're getting 1,400-yard receivers. I almost guarantee you Ohio State will not have any 1,400-yard receivers or even 1,200-yard receivers. That's not Will Howard. Will Howard doesn't do that. Nope. I know Ohio State has a great wide receiver room, and they're always going to get it. I can't go there. Tight end, replacing, you finally lose your tight end. Let's see what they get. I see Jelani Thurman there. I see another guy. I'm trying to remember who it was. They got 2 guys, but offensive line is probably one of the best in the country. I got him a 10. Arizona's next, number 7. Arizona, love everything Noah Fafita's doing with T-Mac. They got good players. They just had another Romello Murphy transfer in at wide receiver, the leading receiver from ODU. And then their running back room is loaded. They have 3 running backs that are worth a damn. I like Arizona's offense. Tight end's good. Offensive line returning 4 starters. Very good. Missouri, Cook, good running backs. Great wide receivers. All 6 wide receivers returning from last year. Solid tight end and a great offensive line. I think one of the very best tight. I think their offensive line is the best that I've seen. That whenever somebody asks me who's the best offensive line, I go Missouri. Like that I saw on tape. Missouri. Because of some of the transfers, because it just looks good. I don't know, systemically. And here we are. I'm going to get to the top of this chart. I'm going to finish it, then we'll jump back into the chat and we'll end the show. Sorry for taking your guys' time all night here. We're in the top 5 now. I got Miami at number 5. I don't think Miami has any weak points. Even though I gave their tight end a 3, I don't think that really matters. Cam Ward is great. Cam Ward is absolutely great. He has every weapon in the world. His wide receiver room is stacked out of its mind. They got the leading wide receiver from Houston. They got Restrepo. They got Isaiah Horton, who's like coming off the bench now. He's 6'5". Like, they got players, bro. That wide receiver room's loaded. Running back room, just as loaded, if not more, right? They got 2 or 3 very, very good running backs. They got 2 elite running backs and then a decent one after that. They're pretty good, and the offensive line is legit. I like Miami a lot. They're number 5. Number 4 is Texas. You see it here. I've got a 10 at quarterback. They just figure that part out. Quinn Ewers is a good quarterback. Running back room, I still like Baxter, bro. I do. I just gave him a 7 because they feel like they're just a shade behind Alabama. They do. They don't have like when you look at Arizona's running back room that I gave an 8, those are actual like 1,000-yard rushers. Those are guys with all the production in the world. You get to Texas, it's like Jaden Blue, who's good. These guys filled in great due to injury, and they're good players. They got to do it. Remember, 7 is where I'm at. That's the Nico numbers. Those are the guys who just quite haven't done it, but they got a ton of production, or they got a ton of potential. Excuse me. The production will get you to 8. The accolades will get you to 9 and 10. That's how that kind of works. Wide receiver room at Texas, pretty good. I gave it a 9. It's pretty good. I don't think it has any bona fide superstars, and I actually think it regressed. Right? It's not as good as last year's. So I can't give it a 10. It's not as good as last year's. I don't believe Matthew Golden's that good. All the recruiting websites, you guys don't turn on the tape. I turn on the tape for Houston, and the wide receiver that popped the most for me was Sam Brown, who's now at Miami. Samuel Brown was the best wide receiver at Houston. The recruiting websites, go look at the ranking. They were like, oh, yeah, Matthew Golden, man, he's going to Texas. He's the best receiver. I'm like, dude, he's a good kickoff returner or whatever he is, but he ain't like that, bro. Tight end, they got Niblack coming over from Alabama, pretty good, and they have a great offensive line. So that's Texas. Then we have Ole Miss at 3. Jackson Dart is him. I could give Jackson Dart a 10, but I gave him a 9. They got an 8 at running back. Obviously, they took a step back. They're missing some guys. Quinshon Judkins left and all that stuff, but they still got an 8. They still have a solid running back room. It's fine. And then wide receivers, I think Ole Miss is either, 1 or 2 wide receiver room, them in Oregon. But I love Ole Miss's wide receiver room, so I gave them a 10. Perfect score. Tight end, Pryor Scoren coming over. I think Pryor Scoren's from Memphis. Transfer from Memphis. Could you imagine if he was still at Memphis? Yeah, Pryor Scoren's a beast, and they know it. And then their offensive line is stout. They just picked up 2 starters from Washington. They're good, man. So shout out to them. Ole Miss is loaded. And then the top 2 teams. Oregon and Georgia, by the way, they do have a tied score. Didn't know that, but they do. We can talk about Oregon first. Oregon, I give them a 10 at quarterback. I think they have an amazing senior quarterback ready to make a splash and do great things. Running back room is going to be a first time starting, but he's already got an 8 because he's great. Jordan James, they got a real running back room. Wide receivers. That wide receiver room is probably second to none. One of the very best wide receiver rooms in America. Tight end is legitimately a 10. And the offensive line is a 10. Then you get to Georgia, same thing. Beck, a 10. Running back room at a 9. I do not believe Georgia's running back room is elite as everybody else thinks it is. No. Etienne was a backup running back at Florida, the 13th or 14th leading rusher in the SEC. Etienne is not who the recruiting websites are saying he is. I don't think he's phenomenal. I really don't. There's just better running backs in the SEC every single year. And he's never been one of them. And for anyone to say he's like the greatest is just absurd. I think the best running back room in that entire room is Roderick Robinson. So for me, I don't like Branson Robinson. I told everybody this for years. Go watch all the videos. Search TikTok for #RicoKnows, #Georgia. And find any time I talked about running backs, Roderick Robinson is who I talked about. Every single time. I believe he's the best running back in that room. And I believe he's been there. He's from California, San Diego, Lincoln kid. I believe he's the best. I watch tape. That's all I do. I don't read recruiting websites. I don't read nothing anybody else says. I watch tape. And when I watch tape, that's the best player. So I give him a 9. The running back room is stacked with depth, though. They got a lot of depth. But when everybody thinks Georgia has the greatest running back room, you need to study the NFL draft. And in the NFL draft last year, Georgia's 2 starters did not get drafted. Georgia's 2 guys that they rotated in the most, they got the most carries, they did not get drafted. And the last year, and the year before that, the very last running back drafted was the Georgia running back in the 7th round. So what you're looking at is a running back room that is borderline NFL caliber. The best running backs in that room do not get drafted. So how good are the people backing them up? They must have a ton of potential, and you hope they're getting drafted. On a team full of NFL players that are getting drafted, you're not in the top 20 running backs getting drafted. And don't tell me, well, they don't draft running backs. The position value's down. No, they draft 20 of them, bro. And you're not one of the top 20. So people overinflate their favorite team, or they overinflate. Like, the reason Georgia was winning games is because of a unicorn at tight end. It's not that running back room. And those running backs are not NFL caliber. And if those guys, the starters, aren't NFL caliber, then what are the backups? They're not NFL caliber either. That's a fact. Wide receiver room, I think Georgia improved their wide receiver room in the transfer portal. Not with the Vandy transfer like the recruiting websites try to tell you. Just the kid out of Miami, Kobe Young. Was it Kobe Young? Or is he still there? Who stayed at Miami and then left? One of them stayed, one of them left. I think Kobe Young left, right? Man. It's 1 in the morning. I get it wrong? No, Kobe Young. It's Kobe Young. Dominic Lovett coming over from Missouri last year, and then Bell. They got players, bro. They got Smith on the bench, who's a speed demon. Now they got players. I like Georgia's offensive line. Gave it a 10. So, yeah, 2 best teams in America offensively, Georgia, Oregon. There's Ole Miss. There's Texas, Miami. It's all a who's who. But, yeah, you'd probably be surprised that I have Missouri and Arizona in the top 10 and West Virginia. But don't let me fool you, man. I'm right more than all these other motherfuckers. Like, that's real. I'm right more than all of them. That's why MVPs exist. That's why we win our money. All right, let's go. I just saw a 99-cent tip. Thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you so much for the tip. Thank you guys for becoming MVPs and trusting in the channel. Let's go back to the chat, and let's see what happens, and we'll end up the show. Marlo Wax will show why he is a top 5 linebacker in the country this year. Shout out to you, Lickman. Marlo Wax. Is he Syracuse? Is he Syracuse? This is just me asking. Man, where's Marlo Wax from? Am I tripping? No, he's Syracuse. Dude, for me to know every player is very difficult. For me to remember them all is very difficult. And Marlo Wax is not hard to remember, though. Marlo Wax is a monster. The problem is your coach got fired. We got a whole new team. And you got to learn a whole new scheme. And the players around you aren't very good. The other linebackers aren't very good. Marlo Wax is good, though. Yes. Judah Price was phenomenal wrestler in West Virginia, came from a top program in the state. Oh, shout out to you, Noah Markley. Sounds good. They also got the leading rusher out of South Carolina. I just made a video about him the other day. So because they come from losing programs means the individual player can't be good at football. No, Jeremy Mitchell. No, not at all. It means a couple of things. First and foremost, if you come from a losing program, you have losing habits. You don't know what it is to be winning. So in a close game or in situations, you typically don't know how to win. You don't have good practice habits. You don't have good preparation habits. You will check out mentally. You will embrace losing. This is why a lot of coaches will recruit state champions. A lot of coaches will recruit players who won games in high school versus those who come from losing teams. That is a fact. Okay? It's a mentality thing. Now, that being said, it'd be cool if they came from those losing teams and they were the best offensive linemen on those losing teams. Unfortunately, they're not. UConn had an offensive lineman that got drafted. UTEP had 2 offensive linemen that transferred off the team. One got drafted and one transferred to Florida State 2 years ago, last year. Keith Byers. I'm sorry. So when you look at each team, Indiana had an offensive lineman transfer to Oregon. And then one transferred to Colorado. When you look at every single one of those terrible teams, the best offensive linemen on those teams did not go to Colorado. They went to somewhere else. They either went to the NFL or another Power 5 team. Colorado got the second or third guy on those units. So not only are you getting a player from a losing team, you're getting the second or third player from those units, and these other teams you're playing against are getting the best player from those teams. If they get anybody from those teams. There's levels to this, bro. So while they'll show up to Colorado and flex on everybody, go watch the tape. They were on their previous team. They weren't that top dog. They weren't that guy. And that goes for a number of the players. Even the defensive linemen. Even the cocky-ass defensive linemen, you go back and watch the tape, and you're like, wait, hold up. I went and watched pit tape. Who's the best defense lineman at Pitt? Some guy named Jules. He's at South Carolina. He looked the best on the tape. I don't care about no box scores. I go turn on the tape. I turn on the tape. I watch a play, rewind it. Watch a play, and I check numbers, and I give a plus or a minus on a number. How did he do on that play? How did he do on that play? And I just keep going and keep going. And then at the end, I'm like, okay, who got all kinds of pluses? Who looks pretty good? And I circle those numbers, and then we keep it going. And we keep it going. Just the trend. Trend analysis is what it's called. And I look for anomalies. That's how I do my hidden gems. Why did Kentucky not win as many games last year? They didn't score enough points. They didn't score enough points. They're not as good as people think. Judah Price won the Kennedy Award for football, best player in the state, and he was the best wrestler, football player. Kid's a stud. Okay, there you go. I happened upon some of the tape. I got excited. He's got work to do, but man, he's excited. Okay, shout out to you guys. Love it, love it, love it. He's about 5'7", 5'8". Didn't score more points than their opponents. Hey, Rocky's still in my shit, bro. Shout out to you. Yeah, you got to get the ball to Barry and Brown. I hear your comments on FSU, but Toafili could start in many spots. He's just not a 3-down back. Yeah, that don't matter to me. That don't matter to me. Get me a 3-down back, bro. You are Florida State trying to win national titles. Get me a 3-down running back. Stop fucking around and going and get Jalen Lucas from Indiana. And stop telling me that's a stud player. It's from Indiana, bro. Stop it. That's what I'm trying to tell you guys. When you backfill your roster and you're getting these scrub-ass dudes, Arkansas got the leading rusher from Utah. You're telling me Florida State couldn't get the leading rusher from Utah? Go get a leading rusher from an FBS team. Don't be getting me these little fucking situational guys. You really think Travis can't start at Miami? Well, I know he can't start at corner. Like, you guys can say what you want to say. I watch tape. Travis Hunter's a 4.5 40 guy. He runs a 4.5 40. He's a zone corner. Can't play man anywhere. Should not be playing man anywhere. Gets abused. Can't catch up. No closing speed. Great ball skills. If he's playing corner, he's got to be in the zone. Period. They won't tell you that. I will. I watch it. I know what I'm saying. He's not my top corner on any of my boards. Runs a 4.5. You can't run 4.5 in the NFL. You can't. He's who's the guy from Stanford? Who's the guy? Richard Sherman. He's Richard Sherman. If you like Richard Sherman, he's Richard Sherman. That's what he is. That's what he is at corner. Wide receiver, love him at wide receiver. Watch him play at Collins Hill in person. I'm here in Georgia. I went and watched him. Catching passes from Sam Horn. Looked like a wide receiver to me. Took my dad to the game. I said, yo, that's a wide receiver. So that's a damn good wide receiver right there. But you got to learn to run routes, NFL caliber routes. If you want to be wide receiver, it's not go out and run these. He's just kind of open. A lot of his routes are ad lib. A lot of his routes are ad lib. He's just kind of open. He's beating you. He's open. He's going to get to the ball because he's got ball skills. You got to learn to run your routes precision. So I hope he's getting with LeJontay Wester. I hope he's getting with, players who know how to run routes consistently, and that becomes his acumen, because I made a video a year ago telling you Travis Hunter should only be playing wide receiver. I believe he's an NFL caliber wide receiver if he focuses on wide receiver. But he couldn't start at Miami? The wide receivers in Miami? Are you kidding me? Those are wide receivers. Have you studied them before? Like, I don't know, man. I think you guys just talk, bro. Like, study them. Go watch them. Sit down and watch them and be like, yo, how the hell is he beating that guy? Go watch Isaiah Horton. 6'5", 220, 440. Like, go watch these dudes, man. NFL's not playing with you, man. And but he's going to be a first-round draft pick, and the NFL's going to... Dude, you don't know how many times in your lifetime NFL executives will make a draft pick and get it wrong. They get fired every 2 or 3 years. The dudes making draft picks right now in the NFL are not the same dudes that were drafted in 2015. These guys don't know anything. They don't know their ass from the hole in the ground. They get fired all the time. All the time. You don't hear about it. These decision makers, there's no draft bus. There's just people who made the wrong draft pick. The bust is in the front office. The bust is in the scouting department. The bust is the GM, not the player. You misevaluated these players. Being drafted in the first round isn't. You didn't make it. Go check the 1999 draft, bro. Go check the 1999 first round and tell me how many people you can name. All right, let's not go back that far. Go to 2015. Tell me how many guys you can name from the first round. Tell me how many misses you see. They miss, bro. They don't know what they're doing. So while you quote, I don't read mock drafts, and I don't quote anybody. You'll never hear me quoted some talking head off TV. Hey, I was talking to so-and-so. They said he's a first round. I don't give a flying flip. I watch the film, and what I say to myself, I do not compare these players to each other. Stop doing that. When you evaluate players for the NFL, stop evaluating them amongst each other. I don't care if you're the number one corner this year. I don't care. Who are you better than in the NFL? When I line up players and I see who's going to make it, the reason why all my undrafted free agents make it on an NFL roster is because I write down, I have a database on my Excel spreadsheet here. I have all the NFL players in that position group. And then I get a player from college and I go, is he better than all these guys? And then I put them up there. And I put them in the rankings, not based upon, are you better than your peers? Are you better than these guys? Are you better than the guys on NFL rosters? That's more important. That's how you evaluate the talent. So I'm looking in the NFL trying to find out what scheme is looking for a zone corner. And if you're not, and you're just trying to sign a guy to sell jerseys and get the number one player on the board and all that, those guys get fired. They get fired. You don't hear about it. I do. I study coaching staffs, players. I study moves, player personnels. I go to Spot Rack every single morning. First thing I do to start work is go check NFL transactions to see if my favorite players made the final 53. To see if the guys I told you made the final 53. Did Keaton Mitchell make the final 53 in the NFL? Yep. Why? Because he's better than NFL players. I don't give a shit what they're talking about. That's me. Watch the content. E-Money says, what up, Rico? I see you, bro. Keep killing it. Shout out to E-Money, man. I appreciate you. If you guys don't know, E-Money, that dude right there, that dude's closer to me than family, bro. I've known E-Money since I was 6 years old. Lived across the street from me. That dude's a brother to me. Rocky says, Cal better figure out ACC defenses. I think they will. I think Cal can score on anybody. Don't ever forget it. Thank God you agree with me on Malik Benson. Yep, don't believe in Malik Benson at all. What starting quarterback is losing his starting wide receiver? Penn State, bro. Penn State. Are you kidding me? Big play Dre transferred to Auburn. His leading receiver left. And not just his leading receiver, Dante Cephas left as well. He hit the portal, went to K-State. Penn State lost their two leading receivers. When did that ever happen? When did an NFL quarterback lose his two leading receivers in college? Because they said, I'm getting the hell out of here. I'm trying to run in routes wide open, and you can't hit me, bro. Why you look like Christian Hackenberg? Why are you throwing that shit in the dirt? JT3, Johnny Wilson, and Keon. Yeah, for sure. They were great on offense. Don't forget Verse on defense, first rounder. Never forget Verse. He was great. Verse and Fisk played great. Yes, you're right, but those guys weren't great. Keon was very good. Keon was. We're not going there. I don't know, man. You have Florida in front of FSU. Pretty sus. Because you're worried about what helmet they're wearing. Go get them Florida State players. Go get those Florida players and go have a tryout right now. Go have a tryout right now. Who you taking? Who you taking at quarterback? We're having tryouts. You taking DJ Uiagalelei over Graham Mertz? I just saw Graham Mertz play an entire season flawless. I've never seen that from DJ Uiagalelei. Let's go to running backs. Montreal, what are we doing? Let's go to wide receivers. Wide receiver. Florida's got 6 wide receivers. Great ones. We go line by line, bro, and you're going to be like, oh, shit, I'm starting Florida players. That's the point. That's the point. People are so concerned with helmets. They're so concerned. Now, listen, is Mike Norvell an amazing coach and gets the most out of his players? I believe so. Does that mean Florida State's going to win less games than Florida? Not a chance in hell. I'm just telling you, position group-wise, talent-wise, Florida's better than Florida State. The players are. The players are. The Florida players could have transferred to Florida State and won starting jobs. That's a fact. That's how good they are. I don't know, man. Yep. Gage Larvadane, again, another ladder bet last season. Exactly, Noah Markley, who's amazing. Charge on. You remember hating on drones in Virginia Tech last season. Aiden Smith. So, apparently, I don't think Aiden Smith's an MVP. I can tell that right now. Shout out to Aiden Smith. Obviously, his name's not green in the chat. So, what he's referring to is I made a video about Kyron Drones early in the season or before the season started, and I said I don't believe in Kyron Drones because Baylor didn't believe in Kyron Drones. I said Baylor had quarterback problems, and they never put Kyron Drones in. Blake Shapen, right? Blake Shapen was their starting quarterback. They were struggling at quarterback in 2022. Kyron Drones never saw the field. So my conclusion was Kyron Drones isn't a good quarterback. And I made a video about it. And that's what this guy's talking about. But you know what he's doing is he's taking a snapshot in time and he's saying this is what you said and you can never change what you say and you can never reevaluate your assessment. And that is utter ignorance. So what you do is you make an assessment with the information given, and then as you collect more data, you refine your assessment. And what have we learned in the last year? Number one, Baylor was probably starting the wrong quarterback, and those coaches need to be fired, and that's why I made my conclusion. Number two, if you were an MVP, you know exactly how I feel about Kyron Drones. By about week 2 or 3 of the college football season, we were betting on Kyron Drones every single week for Kyron Drones to get his over yards, whether he was rushing or throwing. So for somebody like Aiden Smith to show up and be like, remember when you were hating on Kyron Drones last season? No, I don't remember it because you didn't watch 100 videos after it. You weren't here for the live stream every single day where I praised Kyron Drones till the fucking sun came up. That's the problem with people who casually watch the content. They walk in and go, oh, I remember you said this one time. Well, what about the 100 times I said he was fucking amazing? Do we disregard that? Shout out to Suro DLLC for the tip. I appreciate the live chat tip. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Connor Formula says, insanity to think EA College Football 25 plays Colorado 8th best defense. Stop that. Carla Jenkins says, great insight, Rico. I didn't know that about UGA running backs. Hey, man, I hope everybody learns something tonight during the podcast. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Learn a little bit. Are you a believer in Jackson Arnold? He's the best 5-star quarterback out of the class last year. I love Jackson Arnold. Don't know if he's going to be great this year, but I love him. Jabron Fuller says, he's laughing. I feel you, man. Shout out to MVPs. Love to see Rico respect Missouri this year. Yeah, last year I didn't respect Missouri. I want to tell you guys the truth. I had Missouri going 4-8, and Dalen Carnell, he's the starting safety for Missouri this year and last year, reached out to me in the DMs. He and his father follow the channel, and he says to me, hey, yo, man, you're going to be wrong. And I'm like, all right, man, prove it. By halfway through the season, he's writing me. He's like, what now? And I'm like, bro, you guys are killing it. They looked great. I truly believe in Missouri. I think I'm probably higher on Missouri this year than a lot of other people. I believe Missouri is a top 5 team. So go figure. You know what I'm saying? So Travis Hunter should focus on wide receiver instead of corner when he gets to the NFL. I think he should focus on before he gets to the NFL. Where does Ohio State go with Ryan Day if they don't at least win the Big Ten this year? They go to bed, bro? You don't get rid of Ryan Day, man. Ryan Day is not the problem. Ohio State's great. He's just running into some cheaters. He's running into some other great elite programs. That's what happens at the highest echelon. I think Ryan Day's doing everything he's supposed to do. Ryan Day, I can't point at any one thing Ryan Day has done wrong. Nothing. Can't point at anything Ryan Day's done wrong. Recruiting great. Got the right people in the right place. Nah, I don't know anything. I'm cool with it. 2013 draft was brutal. What's up, Rico? Thoughts on Vandy's quarterback room? Rocco Glaze. There's no quarterback room. There's just Diego Pavia and everybody else pretending to be a quarterback. Give me Diego to carry that team. I love Diego at quarterback. Don't play me. Shout out to the MVPs. You guys know how I feel about Diego. My man, Travis Hunter, can start at any school in the country at either position. Yeah, Jeremy Mitchell. Yeah, I'm sure, bro. I'm sure. I think you guys are just fans, man. You guys, I don't think you've ever watched any tape at every school in the country. Like, at any school in the country. Look, you just wrote that at any school in the country, but I don't think you've watched tape at any school in the country. I really don't. I don't think you sat down and watched tape, because there are players that compete harder, that factually get it done. There are players that would have never been singled out and dominated by a Stanford wide receiver. Would have never happened to like 20 different corners I can think of. Not a chance in hell that would happen. But it happened to Travis. It's a different level, man. And it's cool. You guys got fandom. You guys got a guy, Coach Sanders telling you every chance he gets that's the best corner and all this stuff. Nate Johnson, no, don't do this. Nate Johnson's a fast kid who does not belong at quarterback. Nate Johnson is not Diego Pavia. Nate Johnson does not know the offense. He didn't go follow his offensive coordinator there. Don't do that. Do I think Lenora Sellers in South Carolina with Raheem Sanders will be better than people think? Well, I don't know what people think. But I already said it earlier on the show. Respect the goggles, bro. Lenora Sellers is him. I love everything about Lenora Sellers and his brother, who's probably going to get to South Carolina as well. I'm not worried about Rocket Sanders. Raheem Sanders isn't the part that moves me. I think it's good wide receivers and Lenora Sellers carrying that team to victory. I really like Lenora Sellers a lot. Hey, guys, it was nice talking to everybody tonight. Thanks for watching the show. Thanks for supporting the channel. Remember, for the football season, I'm going to do one of these podcasts every single day, Monday through Friday, every single day at 5 p.m. Eastern. We will be talking about one specific conference per day. If you want to support the channel, you can send the super chats. You can become an MVP. Shout out to you guys. We have about 500 MVPs on YouTube. We have another, usually about 1,500 during the football season on Patreon. So about 2,000 MVPs total. Come be a part of the channel. Learn. If you're an MVP, you'll get inside information. You'll get all the bets you're supposed to make, the prop bets. You'll make all the money back. You'll see all the videos. Your friends don't know, but Rico knows. Thanks for being here, guys. I appreciate each and every one of you. You guys make my life possible. Peace.